Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of WIC TV. Cross ideological space, gang, where we come together. Talk about issues. Political, cultural, foreign affairs related. From the silly to the serious. Today's kind of a mix. I had a whole show planned. Okay, so this is why I don't plan too far out in advance, okay? Right? I usually don't plan more than a week in advance what I'm going to have, what topics I'm going to discuss. There are some exceptions to this, right? Where I have a big guest that can only make it next month, and so I'll schedule that and set things out. But for the most part, I don't schedule things too far out. And there's a very good reason for that. As we've seen today, I had a whole lineup talking about institutional neutrality and things. I had a whole, I still have them, right? I still have the articles pulled up, the studies, etc. We're going to go through it bit by bit. We still might a little bit, right? But there was another event today that kind of, it blew up, okay? It blew up, and we have to discuss it. It's just, there's too many aspects to it that I am interested in that for me to wait, because this is breaking stuff. This literally just happened hours ago. And I have a lot of thoughts and opinions on it. A lot of thoughts and opinions. Keep in mind, it's breaking news, so things will change as we go. We don't have a lot of hard facts. We have a lot of supposition. But I wanted to talk about it because I think it's important and goes to the heart of a lot of different issues. But enough preamble. Today, we're going to be talking about Operation Circumcision. What's Operation Circumcision, you may ask? Today, Hezbollah has accused Israel of using either explosives planted in the pagers or hacking the pagers. It's not clear which, in order to explode hundreds to thousands of pagers of Hezbollah militants. Okay. They literally just had their pagers just blow up on them. Okay. I don't think Israel has officially taken credit for this yet, but all signs are kind of pointing to this. Okay. All signs are kind of pointing to this as a thing. Zero Fucks says, I wish they would have called it that for real, though. I mean, they might have. I don't know. We don't know. No one knows at this point. And this is a problem with breaking news, too, is there's so much about this that we don't yet have very solid facts on. It's a lot of guesswork. It's a lot of inference. It's a lot of just kind of even in some cases, conflicting reports coming in. So we, again, for my audience, take a beat on it, right? Don't jump on anything. Don't make any too many hard statements on this. But from what I have seen, okay, from the reporting that I see that I tend to trust, meaning not Twitter personalities, okay, right? But like BBC, CNN, things like that, right? And we'll go through some articles real quick about it too, but I'm just trying to introduce the topic here. It looks like one of the most surgically precise attacks of this nature that's happened ever. Not the most, obviously. There were some confirmed civilian casualties. We don't know how many, but there was at least one 10-year-old girl who was tragically killed in this attack, which is horrific, to be clear. We don't like that. But if the reports are accurate of the number of militants taken out by this, right, when we look at ratios, this is pretty clearly very targeted, very surgical, very effective, not to kill, but to do a couple things. There's a couple of objectives that were accomplished today, assuming Israel was actually the ones responsible. Okay, so they were able to entirely destroy and disrupt a major communications network of the enemy, right? That Hezbollah militants were using pagers. And the reason they were using pagers, guys, there's a very specific reason that they were using pagers. Because of the early on, after October 7th, during the war, some Hezbollah leadership was killed in an airstrike, a drone strike by Israel. And Hezbollah leadership blamed it on the fact that Israel had compromised their cell phones, that their cell phones and communications had been compromised, they'd been hacked, and so they were switching from cell phones to pagers because pagers are harder to hack. They're harder to, they're not on an open network like a cell phone network, right? But they're on a much more closed system. I'm not an IT guy, right? But this is what I've been heard from people I trust, right? That they are on closed networks, that they're much harder to hack, etc. And so, again, as Reuters even reported this, let me see if I think I have this up, actually, right? I think I have this up. Let me make sure. Yeah. Hezbollah, so this is from July of this year, right? How Hezbollah used pagers and couriers to counter Israel's high-tech surveillance. Hezbollah has learned from its losses and adapted its tactics in response. Cell phones, which can be used to track users' location, have been banned from the battlefield in favor of more old-fashioned communication means, including pagers. Okay, so this was a strat that they used, right? That they wanted, in particular, to cut out Israel's tech advantage and go old school and use pagers. Just one problem. Israel apparently prepared for that. And we are not sure yet. And I've heard several different theories, right? But we don't know yet how this attack was carried out, right? A couple of the more interesting theories that I've heard is that they intercepted a shipment of pagers from whatever supply chain that they normally go through, and they simply put in pagers with little mini amounts of explosives in there that could be detonated on an alphanumeric code. If you sent them the right code, they would just go boom. Okay, I've heard that. That seems plausible to me. Okay, I'm not going to show the videos of the people getting injured on my podcast. I don't like to do that, right? But there's clearly videos you can find of people just being there's a guy in a supermarket, lots of people around. Suddenly his pants explode. It seems only he's hurt in this incident, right? There's another video out there that I've seen where there's two guys, they're working at a table, right? It's an overhead shot. A pager goes off and they both check it. One of their pagers explodes and the other doesn't. Okay. So again, it's we can make some inferences from this, right? Now, the other theory I've heard, and I don't know how reasonable this is, because these explosions look bigger than this, but I don't know. I haven't used a pager in decades, okay? So the accusation is that they hacked their network and basically overheated the batteries and caused like a thermal runaway, right, on the electronics in there, which resulted in an explosion. So I don't know which they did. No one does at this point, right? No one does. There is another theory that Hezbollah itself put the explosives in their pagers because in case of capture or in case of interception, they could delete the pager, right, and all the information on it, and they would get no access, nothing. I don't know how believable that is, though. That seems the least likely of the scenarios to me. The most likely scenario to me is the Occam's razor is the interception of the supply line. Is a Mossad agent at some point intercepted or inserted themselves into a supply line that Hezbollah was using to get its military equipment, or its equipment is using for military purposes, and simply switched the pagers for little mini IEDs, basically. That's the theory that I think is the most likely. But again, and I want this to be clear, we don't yet know. Anyone who's claiming that they know 100% how this happened right now is full of shit, okay? We're also not sure the ratio to militants and civilians yet. We don't know. No one does. No one's reporting on that yet. We haven't seen it. There's some Twitter accounts that have been claiming some things, but they're Twitter accounts. We don't trust Twitter accounts. We just don't. What's up, Wiccan Chat? Hey, by the way. Hey, everyone. Hey, thanks for dropping by. Thanks for stopping by. Today's a lot of different topics, a lot of different things to talk about today, but I wanted to go through the pager stuff first because it's blowing up my feed right now, gang. It's blowing up my feed. Does Wick read all chats? I try to read all chats. Krakow says, most of these people are off duty. Sure. But that doesn't make it illegal, right? Like, just because if you find an enemy barracks and they're sleeping, does that make it illegal to bomb that barracks? No. They're enemy combatants. They're legal targets. Again, there's nuance here. But these military pagers, right, were used for the specific purpose of military operations. That's the claim. We don't know yet, and let me be clear. We don't know yet, but if that's true, if it's true that they were designed and intended for military use, then absolutely they were legal targets. Absolutely it was okay to target them. Yes. No question. Krakow, you don't know international law. That's just not true. This was a specific, again, assuming, we're making the assumption here, so bear with me, right? Assuming that Mossad chose these pagers because they were military equipment and because they had a high degree of certainty that these military pagers would be used by Hezbollah militants, then yes, it was absolutely a legal target. It was discriminate. It was targeted, and it had a clear military objective. And again, we don't know the ratio numbers, right? We don't know the civilian to militant ratio numbers yet. So, but from the casualty reports, from the death reports, as far as I've been able to tell, out of the 11 people who have died, 9 were militants. Again, there's a lot more injuries than deaths. So the injury ratio could be way different. I don't know that ratio, so I'm not gonna guess, right? But the death ratio, out of the 11 reported killed, 9 were militants. That's a great ratio for a military operation. That's an astounding ratio for a military. America wishes it could have that ratio, right? America begs and pleads that it could have that good of a militant to civilian ratio. Okay. Yeah, casualties includes death and injuries. Yeah, but I don't know the injuries one, right? We know the deaths one because there's so little deaths, so it's easy, right? It's easy to confirm. But there's reportedly thousands injured, so we won't know. Is it likely that some civilians were injured here? Yes, absolutely. Like, it's almost impossible to have 0 civilian injuries, right? But we'll see, right? Netflix movie, The Pager Caper. Woke CIA drone pilot says Israel will be destroyed within a year. IDF General Yitzhak Brik said so in Israel media a couple weeks ago. The Zionists can go back to where they came from. The Palestinian people have no choice but to resist. Do you really think that Israel's going to be destroyed in a year? There's like nothing. There's nothing to indicate that, and there's a whole lot to indicate otherwise. I don't even know what you want to do, right? Like here, like moderate that for being stupid. I don't know, right? Like he's just being stupid. I look, you want to bet some money on it, buddy? You want to put some money down? Do you want to make a bet on whether Israel still exists in a year or not? I'll put some money down on it for you. Right? I would love to make a little buck here and there, okay? Okay. Let's see. Let's read a little bit of enough of what I have to say, right? Let's see what BBC has to say, okay? So here's a fairly recent report on it. We're going to go through it. It's by David Gritton of the BBC News. Let's see if you guys can all see that. Can we all see this here? Can we all check? Can we all see? Right? I hope we can. So this is an article on BBC. It says Hezbollah blames Israel after pager explosions kill 9 in Lebanon. So again, we'll have updated numbers. I got this article about an hour ago. There will be more updates as we go. So okay, so here we go. 9 people, including a child, have been killed after handheld pagers used by members of the armed group Hezbollah to communicate exploded across Lebanon, the country's health minister says. Iran's ambassador to Lebanon was among 2,800 other people who were wounded by the simultaneous blasts in Beirut and several other regions. Again, these numbers are a little out of date from what I've seen on other sources, okay? So they say 2,800 here. I've seen numbers as high as 4,000 that have been injured. So just keep in mind. Also, 11 are confirmed dead now, not just 9. So keep it going. Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran, said the pagers belong to employees of various Hezbollah units and institutions, and at least 2 members were among the dead. So this is Hezbollah, and this is important. Hezbollah is acknowledging it's their specific pagers. It wasn't rando pagers that they just blew up at random. It was those used by employees of various Hezbollah units and institutions. So, Hezbollah members of Hezbollah, right, who were employed and being paid by Hezbollah were using these pagers. The group blamed Israel for what it called this criminal aggression and vowed that it would get just retribution. The Israel military declined to comment. Israel has been exchanging fire with Hezbollah since last October in parallel with the Gaza war, raising fears of a wider regional conflict. The UN spokesman said the developments were extremely concerning, especially given that this is taking place within a context that is extremely volatile. Hezbollah relies heavily on pagers for communications. The group has warned its members to stop using mobile phones because they could be hacked or tracked by Israeli security forces. According to Hezbollah, an unspecified number of pagers exploded in multiple areas of Lebanon at around 15:30 local time, 12:30 GMT. I don't know what that translates to Eastern time. I'd have to look it up. But let's review what we got so far. So, according to this article, 9 died, but we know that 11 have been reported to be dead. One of them, yes, was a 10-year-old child. That is confirmed. That is reported, and that's very sad, right? But the others, at least 9 of the others, seem to be confirmed militants. Okay, this article says 2. I've seen other sources I trust say 9. And again, given that there's going to be, it's breaking news. Make sure you take everything with a little bit of salt and be able to update as the numbers update. Fair enough. Fair enough. So at about 15:30 local time, a bunch of their pagers just went off, right? People be blowing up their phones, okay? A lot of people got injured. But Hezbollah again admits it's their phones. It's their pagers, I should say. Sorry, not phones. It's their pagers, right? It's their pagers that they used in their institutions amongst their militants. Makes that part at least a valid target, right? Does anyone disagree so far? $10 from Step on Steak. Still enjoying the content, Wick. Keep up the good work. I do think that you should back off some of your Israel support, though. I think that. Hold on. I'm getting a page. Okay. Okay. Thank you. That made me chuckle. That made me chuckle. Damn. Well, that's one dono gone. Ah, man. There is this weird tendency. It's not even weird. I understand it, right? There's this tendency to hop on information that confirms your priors and to just reject any information that seems to challenge your worldviews. This is a big thing that happens all the time, okay? So you have to be careful with that, especially in a breaking news story like this, right? Where we don't have 100% all the information yet. It is being updated in real time. And you have a bunch of people who are invested in making sure that whoever they consider the enemy is painted in the worst light possible, and whoever they consider their team is painted in the best light possible. So you have to be able to kind of have some media savvy and cut through a lot of that bullshit, right? And there's been people trying with me, right? That people are literally just making things up. I was in a Twitter argument, I know, earlier today where the person basically was making statements like most of the casualties were civilian. They just made that up. They don't know. No one does. It could be the case. That's true. But we don't know that yet. It hasn't been reported. Hezbollah doesn't know it yet. The Lebanon Health Ministry doesn't know it yet. We don't know it yet. No one knows it yet. It's not been reported. It's not. We don't have the information. It could be true, but it could also be true that they had thousands of pagers explode, very minimal civilian casualties, and most of it was militants, right? Again, going just by the death toll, it seems to be that 9 were militants and 2 were civilians. And unfortunately, one of those was a child, right? That's what we got so far. Time Watch says, wait, so they remotely hacked the pagers to cause the lithium-ion batteries to overheat and explode? We don't know that either, right? We don't know. That could be true, or they could have intercepted the shipment and replaced it with pagers with little explosives in them, right? Little IEDs that they tricked Hezbollah into putting in their pockets, right? We just don't know. Talk about the Kamala endorsement? We'll get there. We'll get there. I want to talk about this for a little bit first. Okay. Awesome is Coyote says, but Wick, pagers bombed by Israel is terrorism, even if it's a military objective. By what definition of terrorism? I mean, is it going to make Hezbollah militants scared now? Yeah. Does that make it terrorism? I don't think so. I think you have to target civilians for me to consider it terrorism, personally, right? I think you have to target civilians. Oh, you were referencing that debate we were in? Fair enough. Fair enough. It could have been C4. Yeah, we don't know. Like, we just don't know how this was carried out yet. There's going to be a lot of people looking into it, right? There's going to be a lot of people who are trying to understand what happened, things like that. Okay. Let's continue with the article. Okay. On CCTV video, one CCTV video showed an explosion in a man's bag or pocket at a supermarket. He is seen falling backwards to the ground and crying out in pain as other shoppers run for cover. If this is the same one I saw, the other shoppers weren't, like, some ran, but a lot of were just like, what the fuck happened? And were like, just kind of like literally shrugging their shoulders. Like, what? What just happened? In all my life, I've never seen someone walking on the street and then explode. Musa, a resident of southern Beirut suburb, told AFP news agency. My wife and I were going to the doctor. I found people lying on the ground in front of me, he said. People didn't know what was happening. Lebanese Health Minister Firas Abiad told a news conference that casualties were brought to hospitals across the country, including those in Beirut and southern Beirut suburb of Dahiyeh and southern port city of Tyre and in the Bekaa Valley. He said most had wounds to the face, hands, and stomach, and that about 200 were in critical condition that required surgery or admission to intensive care. This is important too, okay? If this is true, right? If it's true that most of the wounds were to the hands, the face, and the stomach, it does, again, we can infer, and it's only an inference, please, it's only an inference. It's an educated guess that most of the injuries are for people who actually were holding the pagers, okay? Or had them in their pockets. Their abdomen area, when it exploded, got injured. They were holding it because they were checking a page or something and were looking at it and got blasted in the face, right? That seems to be consistent with the idea that most of the injuries or the injured were people who had those pagers, and most of the people who had those pagers, given if they were actually military equipment that were distributed by Hezbollah, were Hezbollah militants, right? That's some inferences we can make based on the reporting. It might not be true. We will need more information, right? But this is how you suss these things out, right? You see what they say, you make some inferences, then you wait before you make any really strong claims until you get further, better information. But based on the reporting so far from BBC, from the doctor who was at the scene, it seems to be that we can make an inference that most of the injured were probably militants. We don't know. I'm telling you, I'm showing my work here. This is how I'm coming to the conclusions I am. And they're soft conclusions. I could be wrong on this. If reporting contradicts this later, okay, I'll change my mind, right? But this is how we go through these. This is how we look at these things. This is how we make these judgments, okay? Al-Yat Zion says, hello, Wick, hello, chat. Star Troopian says, with all these anti-abortion topics and anti-immigration topics, the GOP sure seems like they're afraid of the Great Replacement Theory. That's a little off topic, but fair, I guess. We're not talking about that just yet today. We might talk about it later. There will be some call-ins later, right? But I'm sure people have big thoughts, big feelings on this. And also on my other take that probably people want to yell at me for. But yeah, we're just going through it. So let's continue. Let's get through this article, and then we can go and we can talk about more things, and we can get your thoughts. Okay, give me a second. I just got to make sure I'm not going to expose like my DMs or something when I switch these screens. That's why it takes me a minute, King. Okay. Everyone always yells at me? Yeah, everyone always yells at me. Okay. He said, okay, Iranian state TV reported that Iran's ambassador in Beirut, Mojtaba Amani, suffered quote-unquote superficial injuries in one of the explosions. A source close to the Hezbollah, and here's another thing, like this injury number that I keep hearing for 4,000, how many of them are seriously injured? About 500. That's the reporting. what constitutes a critical injury versus a non-critical injury, I'm not quite sure. Right? But apparently, Iran's ambassador had superficial injuries, according to Iranian state TV. Whether you believe Iranian state TV or not, right? I don't know. I don't exactly trust those guys, to be clear, but that's the reporting that we're getting. A source close to Hezbollah told AFP that 2 of those killed by the pager explosions were the sons of 2 Hezbollah MPs, Ali Amar and Hassan Fadlaha. They also identified the dead child as a 10-year-old daughter of a Hezbollah member in the Bekaa Valley, which, again, sad that a 10-year-old girl was killed. Very sad, right? Not good. However, we got to look at these things. Don't compare me to the Almighty. Compare me to the alternative. Like, if you're going to make a strike at Hezbollah, and to be clear, Hezbollah has been striking at Israel for months, sending rockets in. You guys remember the Hezbollah rocket that killed 12 school kids, right? Like, this is a war. They've been shooting at each other for a long, long time. We have to look at which is more surgical. Bombs, like from planes or drones, or something like this. Again, based on the early reporting, it seems to me that this is going to be have way less collateral damage than a standard bomb or a standard drone strike. Again, that's just what we see. Okay. So again, don't compare it to the alternative, Almighty. Compare it to the alternative, right? If you are a nation that wants to take out the leaders of the military that is attacking you, which is going to cause the least amount of civilian casualties, right? Now, if your stance is, well, they shouldn't be attacking Hezbollah at all and should just let Hezbollah attack them without responding, I don't consider you a serious actor, right? Like, obviously they should respond. Nations have a right to defend themselves. Is what it is. Okay. Let's see. 14 people were also wounded by exploding pagers in neighboring Syria, where Hezbollah is fighting alongside government forces in the country's civil war, according to the UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. So again, this leads credence to the fact that it wasn't just some random explode all pagers in this area, right? Like, this wasn't an area attack. It was specifically targeted on Hezbollah members because the attack also injured people who were in Syria, Hezbollah militants who were fighting in Syria. Again, more evidence that this was surgical, precise, targeted, discriminate, definitionally discriminate. Okay. We hold the Israel army, We hold the Israeli enemy fully responsible for this criminal aggression, Hezbollah said in a statement on Tuesday evening. This treacherous and criminal enemy will certainly get his just retribution on this sinful aggression from where it counts and from where it does not count, it added. Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati also blamed Israel for the explosions, saying that they represented a serious violation of Lebanese sovereignty and a crime by all standards. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said he told his Lebanese counterpart that he strongly condemned Israeli terrorism. The U.S. has denied any involvement in the incident and urged Iran not to heighten tensions. What are our thoughts, gang? What are we thinking here? $5 from Cameron 502. The pro-Pallies have been demanding surgical attacks. Why are they upset all of a sudden? They got what they wanted. I think that gives away the game. I mean, like, you said it, right? They never really just wanted surgical attacks. That's not what they want. They want Israel to stop fighting at all. They want them to just stop doing anything to defend themselves. They just want them to lay down and take it. That's what a lot of them really want, right? The people who are complaining about the surgical strike teams, right? that rescued those hostages. People were complaining about these specific targeted attacks on Hezbollah militants who were actively engaged, who actively had military communication equipment on their person. I don't know what to tell you. Marcus Uno says this demonstrates more than ever why brand loyalty is important. Make sure you know what you're buying and where it's coming from. They've tried a new brand one time. Man, I don't know if it's a new brand. I don't know if they had this like a working relationship with these guys before. Like they just switched to pagers. So, you know, this any brand might have been a new brand, okay? But they just recently switched to pagers, so, you know. But it does show like the capabilities, intelligence capabilities that Israel's capable of, right? To be able to insert pocket IEDs, literally pocket IEDs in Hezbollah, right? Pants pockets. Have the enemy basically put bombs on themselves that you have control over, right? It showcases the levels we're dealing with, like the efficacy levels and how staggeringly competent one side is versus the other. Okay, at least at this realm of warfare, okay? At least in this kind of style of information, electronic, cyber warfare. One group has demonstrated capabilities that is, again, all accounts, this is a massively successful operation. Massively successful, right? Getting an untold number of militants, injuring them, destroying, because it's not just about the casualties, right? It's not just about the physical injuries that have been sustained, right? It's not just about the people they were able to kill. It's about them just disrupting and sowing distrust to any form of communication network. It's basically showing them that at any point in time, whether they use cell phones or pagers or something else, Israel can reach out and touch them, right? Them directly. I don't know. That's a big deal. Anyone want to sound off on this? Anyone disagree with me? Anyone want to call in for this bit? Anyone have further thoughts? Let me give you the Discord. A moment, please. Let me give you the Discord. You can jump backstage. I'll pull you in and we'll talk. Nicholas Colchero says the last report I heard was 11 deaths, one of which was a girl, so maybe not as targeted as you assume, since 9% of the current victims is children. Look, if 9, as I said, if 9 are militants and 2 are civilians, do you understand how, okay, maybe you don't. That ratio is better than almost any other country. Like, I can't think of a country who has a better ratio than that off the top of my head, right? If they're taking a shot at leaders of militants, right, you expect civilian casualties at a much higher range than what they did here. Much higher range. Don't compare this to the almighty. Compare it to the alternative. Compare it to, okay, well, how do other strikes, similar strikes, look when it comes to these things? Turtle emergencies. Didn't Hezbollah kill a bunch of kids on a soccer field earlier this year with their unguided rockets? Am I wrong on that? No, that's correct. 12 kids were killed in Israel by an unguided Hezbollah rocket. That happened. But yeah, that's if that number holds, if that ratio holds, this is Muck, they were being motherfucking Teresa. Jager says, Wick, I have 12,000 in savings. Good job, me. Well, cool. Good job. Give me a second and I'll pull you in. Oops. Hello, you're live.
Hello, Wick. Hold on. It's
Yo, your audio's shit.
Yeah, hold on. It was on my car speaker. Sorry about that.
All good. Much better now. What you got for me?
Okay. So, give you the more reasonable pro-Palestinian perspective here. So yes, this attack is on Hezbollah. And it is a surgical strike, which is great. But it's kind of a nothing burger, to be honest, because when we're talking about it being a surgical strike on Hezbollah, yes, that is great, but the problem is we need more surgical strikes on the militants in Gaza, not necessarily on Hezbollah. The problem is the borderline ethnic cleansing in Gaza. Not necessarily we don't necessarily have a problem with them attacking Iran or Hezbollah. The problem is their actions in Gaza, not their actions against Hezbollah and Iran.
Sure. If you have problems with their actions in Gaza, cool, right? We can discuss that. But today we're talking about what they did in Hezbollah. And I think that what they did in Hezbollah is actually, yes, I would like to see it done. I want that level of surgical precision in more attacks, right? If I could wave a magic wand and every enemy be as targeted as the IDF seems to have been with the Hezbollah militants in today's strike, and extend that to all armies around the world ever, I would. Because, again, from what it seems in the early reporting, this could change, right? This could change. It seems to be that they were very, very precise in their targeting. And yes, if that is something that they can do in Gaza, I would like to see them do that in Gaza going forward.
Yeah, if they were to shift and use this level of targeted strikes in Gaza, my stance on Israel would change
Cool.
quite a bit.
So you're to be clear, you are saying what they did today, at least from the reporting, was acceptable.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Sure. I'm looking for people though that thinks today's strike was not acceptable. Like there's this guy in chat. What's his name? Nicholas. Jump backstage, Nicholas. I'm very curious why you think that if 2 out of 9 are civilians and the other 7 are random militants, then it's not a good ratio. I disagree. If that's the ratio, like, can you name me a better ratio? If any military in a conflict, in a major conflict worldwide?
Shit, honestly, that's better than the U.S.'s ratio.
Yes! I mean, it's really good. It's a great ratio. I mean, like, it's not good that any civilian dies. That's obviously a tragedy. But, like, when you have a war situation like this, you want to limit as much as possible. And that's the key word, as possible. I don't know how you can do better than what the IDF did today, right?
Yeah, based off the initial reporting, at least, it sounds like it was extremely well targeted.
I agree.
And if that is the actual ratio, like I just said, that's fucking better than the U.S.'s ratio majority of the time.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, we are getting much better at our targeting, and that's a good thing. Like, the samurai sword drone bomb, you ever seen or heard of that? We used it to kill an Iranian general, I believe, in Baghdad. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't an Iranian general. I'm sorry. I'll have to. It was some one of our targets that we wanted dead. We dropped a sword on them, basically a sword drone, and it just spun around and it killed only them, which is like the gold standard here. But I don't know if Al Zakawi, thank you. I don't know if Israel has those. And I also don't know if that's useful in all scenarios. So, given the facts that have been reported, again, it could change. It could come out that these facts or these ratios were just wrong, in which case my position changes here, right? But from what I've seen, pretty good. Thanks for calling in, buddy.
No problem.
Gibbs, what you got? I can't hear you if you're talking. Wonderful. Oh my God, he tried to answer his pager. Okay. They got him, gang. Beautiful. Okay, wonderful, Gibbs. I'm going to let you go and work out your tech issues. And then once you're worked out your tech issues, you can come back. I can't see or hear you, to be clear. So, unfortunately, going to have to let you go for now. He was trying to answer his pager, gang. We still got more of the, it's on my end. How's it on my end, motherfucker? What are you talking about, my end? We just had a caller. It worked fine. Vigilante worked fine. You can see and hear me? Yeah. It means your stuff's screwed up. Your screen is green when you talk? Yeah, it means your stuff's screwed up. It means you're using the wrong mic or something. Using the wrong cam. Something's wrong on that end. Okay, let's keep going with the article for now. And once we'll give Gibbs a few minutes. We'll give Gibbs till I finish the article to fix his stuff, okay? Then we'll switch. We'll switch and we'll bring him on. Okay. Hezbollah did not say what it believed had caused the pagers to explode. The Wall Street Journal cited a source as saying the affected devices were from a new shipment that Hezbollah had received in recent days. A Hezbollah official also told the newspaper some people had felt the pagers heat up before the blasts. Overheated lithium-ion batteries can catch fire, but experts said hacking into the pagers and making them overheat would not usually cause such explosions. A former British Army munitions expert, who asked not to be named, told the BBC the pagers would have likely been packed with between 10 grams and 20 grams of military-grade high explosive, hidden inside a fake electronic component. Once armed by a signal, called an alphanumeric text message, the next person to use the device would have triggered the explosive, the expert said. Lena Khatib, a Middle East analyst at the UK-based Chatham House think tank, told the BBC, Israel has been engaging in cyber operations against Hezbollah for several months, but this security breach is the largest in scale. True. True. This is the BBC, okay? So, their words, not mine. Let's try Admiral Gibbs again. You guys want to try Admiral Gibbs again? You guys want to? Let's give him a go. Okay, motherfucker. Can you hear me? Hello. Oh my God. How about this? You go backstage. Can one of my mods go backstage with him and help him fix his shit? Because his shit's not working. Concluding proscript says an exploding cell phone would usually just burn you. Yeah, but these are pagers, and I'm going to be real with you. I don't know the tech on pagers. I just don't. So, I don't know what to tell you. Are you on a cell phone, Gibbs, right now? If you're on a cell phone, that might be it. Discord's weird with cell phones. Are you on your pager? Can you even pagers? I don't think pagers have video. Okay, well, that was a stupid thing to say. Damn. We lost Gibbs. Gibbs has been taken out by the Mossad. Okay, he was an agent the whole time. An agent the whole time. Audacity says I was literally just talking to him. How about this? Audacity, can you come on real quick just to make sure it's not me? Because I was just talking to Vigilante just a second ago. Sorry, gang. Excuse me while I do live tech. Yeah, but just jump in real quick and I'll see if it's more of a me thing or more of a you guys thing. Okay. Give him a minute. I'm watching the backstage, waiting for him to jump. Okay, let's pull him in. Hello. Damn, I can't hear you either. What's going on? What's wrong? Huh. Is it Discord? You were screaming? Man, what's going on with my tech? Hold on. You're not muted. You're not deafened. Your volume's normal. Let's see. Here, I'm going to try something. Okay? I'm going to send you back to the other room, and then I'm going to try joining that room. Okay? Okay, can you guys hear me? I still can't hear or see you. Oh no. Disconnect. Hold on. I'm going to try restarting Discord. Okay? I'm going to try restarting Discord. I'm going to exit out. And then I'm going to re-up it. Okay? Give me a second. Give me a second, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, black screen of no content. I get it. Okay. Okay, you guys can see and hear me? Yeah? Yeah? We good on this? Okay.
All right.
Okay, I can hear you. Oh my God. Okay.
Hey, I just want to on record. You were real quick to blame old Papa, but
I still think it's your fault somehow.
I
don't know how.
Somehow, you know.
Somehow.
I don't know. Well, we know it won't be Israel after this take. I do think Israel was. I don't agree with Israel on this strike because I'm tired of these surgical strikes. I'm sick of the surgical. Like it's time to level anything Hezbollah controls. Anybody think Hamas is still being enabled? These people can easily rise up. They don't want Israel taking them out. Stop putting people in power that are launching rockets at them. These people aren't being discriminate when they attack Israel. Israel's having a fight with two hands behind the back. People are bitching today, and the early reports are saying something like 2 civilians are killed. I mean, they're early. We'll see. And like some injuries. That's about, like you said, as good a ratio as you can get. Still not good enough. Still a lot of weeping and gnashing of teeth. I feel like, you know what? They need to restart a B-52 production line, and we should let them start buying B-52s from us, and then just let them find out what the cluster bombs are like, just like we did the Vietnam. What do you think about that?
I don't think that's good. I think that's pretty terrible, actually. I think it's horrific, and that's something I condemn.
Sometimes like horrific stops people from doing it ever again. Like, have we had any nukes dropped on any countries since the original two? Because we saw it so bad, nobody wants to do it again. Maybe if people got a black eye from punching Israel all the time, they'd stop, kicking the dog. Like, it's crazy. Like, people act surprised when they kick somebody and then they get punched in the face. And I'm kind of tired of it. Like, we make all these excuses, and then every time it's like these
I
groups
can't
go
tell
after
when you're
soft
memeing
targets.
and when you're not.
I mean, but
can't.
I mean, that's the point. That's the point. But secondly, like, think about it though. These people attack soft targets regularly. They used to blow up buses. They used to sit here. Now they've rocketed children's playgrounds. They've attacked Hamas attacked the music festival. You know, we have Hezbollah doing all sorts of stuff all the time. Like, it's indiscriminate attacking at soft civilian targets regularly. But Israel kills 2 people that on accident when they do a surgical strike against terrorists. And whoa, lordy, that's too mean. Oh, I can't believe they use pagers. Oh, someone in your chat said doctors use pagers. What is this pussy bullshit? Like, I'm sorry, I don't feel bad for people that enable a terrorist organization to gain control of your country, and then let them attack another country indiscriminately when backlash happens. It's tick for tack. Like, if you get punched in the mouth, do you expect to just sit there and go, "Oh, punch me again, please"?
You understand though that here I have the same issue with lefties, okay? And you're sounding very lefty right now because what you sound like is one of those lefties who tells me that, oh, Trump and MAGA is doing X, so we have to do X too. We have to stoop to their level. No, I think that Israel holds the moral high ground, at least compared to Hamas and Hezbollah, because it doesn't specifically target children.
I agree. I agree that they do that, right? And I think that they've held the moral high ground. But here's kind of the way I'm looking at it, right? How long have they been doing this? They've been surgical. The United States has tried to be surgical. People argue that we kill people when we go to other countries. Like, yeah, it's war. Yeah, but we, like you said, we use these the razor blade missiles now, and we have all this tech. We have drones. Drones are much more surgical than us using glide bomb, like all sorts of stuff. I mean, like, you have all this stuff. We're not going in there and turning places into pavement anymore, right? So whenever I sit here, it's like, yeah, we've decided we're going to follow these rules. It's good for moral high ground, and it works for some of these groups where we just have overwhelming superiority. Unfortunately for Israel, they're surrounded by people, and it's a numbers game. Like, these people are going to keep just whittling at them, keep taking pot shots at them. Their civilians are always living in a perpetual state of fear. I've heard people argue here that we shouldn't put military vets or armed guards in schools because it hurts kids because they have to undergo be in a protective environment and they don't feel safe. Well, how do you think the average Israeli child feels whenever they have to look up every day almost and there's rockets overhead? Like, at what point do we care about their mental health? What point do we care about these civilians that are being attacked by designated world terrorist organizations that these other groups were put in power?
Right?
I mean, it doesn't seem like we do, because we keep, every time we do it, you say we have the moral high ground, but tons of people on both the right and the left want to poo-poo Israel for every attack they do in response to something. And I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous. So maybe somebody should
that's fair, but
so maybe they should see what it looks like with the gloves taken off.
Be as bad as the people we're fighting.
Maybe
against.
it is. So
and
they learn how bad it can be.
The reason that we don't, right, isn't because of what the other countries will think about this, right? That's not why. Why we shouldn't, again, be indiscriminate in our targeting and bombing is because it's wrong to do.
But it's never going to stop, because every time we do it, we play by the rules. These people don't. Maybe one of these times, these people should see what it's like whenever we don't play by the rules, and it'll be so bad that they go, we never want to do this again. Sometimes the best deterrent is a good offense. That's why it's a famous football quote from Bill Belichick: "Best offense, or best defense is a good offense." Right? Same thing. Mike Leach says it. It applies to this situation. If you can go in there and you can absolutely wipe them from the face of the earth, other groups are going to go, maybe we shouldn't go and poke that bear. You don't put any value in deterrence?
Not I do, but not
it's
at
like
the
one tragedy to
cost
stop a million.
Not at the cost of ratios you're talking about, right?
Because it would be a smaller ratio.
There are certain things that I would never do, even if I could be guaranteed that it would have long-term, quote-unquote, good outcomes. Like, if you told me that I could stab these 10 kids, okay? These 10 kids, I'd have to stab them. And if I stabbed those 10 kids and was horrific about it and televised it, I could save 100 lives in the future. I still wouldn't stab those 10 kids. It would still be wrong.
What if it was 1 million lives?
I still wouldn't stab those 10 kids. It'd still be wrong.
So you would rather a 1,000,000-person genocide than have 10 children deaths?
The difference here is I would have to. There are other ways to stop that, the 1,000,000 genocide.
But there's not. There's not like, and this is what I keep trying to say is these groups. It's just like with Saddam. When we removed Saddam, we didn't understand that a lot of these countries want a strong man, right? And when you have the mentality of people that like strong men, they respect shows of force. And what we're doing now is not a show of force. Like I know that we see it as a show of force. We're being surgical. Look, we could wipe you out if we wanted, but we were so precise. But these people don't see it that way. They see it as all out war, and they think that we don't have the cojones to go in there and do what it takes. And that's kind of what it seems like it's happening. These people know that we're always going to stop short of actually going in there and digging out the cancer. And as long as the cancer's in there, it's going to keep festering.
I think that the unfortunate reality, though, is if we take your tack, it's going to create more cancer. It's going to metastasize in other countries in other ways, and then the problem won't be solved. It will simply get worse. But let's bring someone who actually disagrees with me. Hello, you're live. I know it's not me this time. Okay.
I was gonna mess with you and just like start waving my hands. To be honest.
Okay, what do you got, sir? Or ma'am?
Is it working?
Yeah, you're here.
Okay. Sorry, I do not have a camera on my laptop.
You're probably for the best, because we've had some people put some stuff that's not so nice on our screen before, so that's fine.
Yes. And English is not my first language, so I might struggle a bit with the language, but I hope everything's fine.
Go ahead.
So my criticism of this attack would be, first of all, that I think my criticism would be that Israel has for several months now tried to derail any attempts of peace. We have seen that Netanyahu doesn't want it. And I do believe Israel is the main problem with reaching a peace right now. And this attack, I don't think it's going to help. So if our goal is to have a peace on that region, I don't see this as working in that direction.
Yeah, but that's more of a meta criticism, you understand, right? So that seems to be like you think that the problem is just hostility in general, correct?
Not exactly, because I do believe this attack is an escalation from other kinds of attacks that there have been. In this specific instance, Israel probably, what I've heard, they infiltrated the supply lines and they put explosives. Probably they did this months ago. So this is an escalation. And I don't see that Hezbollah is going to reach for peace when Israel is escalating the situation.
I understand. The unfortunate thing is, I don't know if not responding to the attacks that Hezbollah has been launching into Israel is going to make peace either, right? Like, there comes a point where you got to have both sides have to want peace, right? It can't just be Israel, it can't just be Hezbollah, right? They both have to want it. And it looks like, at least in this instance, neither side would like peace in this case. Israel doesn't seem to want it. And I guess more importantly for this situation, Hezbollah doesn't seem to want it. So given that you have an enemy that is attacking you almost every day with rockets, etc., I think that you were allowed morally some level of response to that, to take out the people who are doing that to you. And I think that them using this method is better than a drone strike. It's better than a bomb, right, from a plane. It's better than a rocket. It's more surgical. It's more precise. And I think that given the options that they had at the table, this was I can't think of a better option. That's realistic. Can you?
Do you know I'm asking because I do not know them, the casualties since the day after October 7th, so since October 8th?
Casualties in Gaza, casualties in Hezbollah. Well, I know Hezbollah's because the BBC one has it, right? So BBC, in the article we're reading,
Mainly in Israel and in
Sure.
other parts of the region.
So
In
since-
Gaza, I know it's a
Yeah.
lot. But
So since October, okay, and I'll let you
Yeah.
guys see this so you guys can see it. It's on my screen here. On the stream, I should say. Since October, at least 589 people have been killed in Lebanon. The vast majority of them Hezbollah fighters, according to the Lebanese Health Ministry. On the Israeli side, there's been 25 civilians and 21 members of security forces have been killed, the Israeli government says. This is for the Hezbollah Israel conflict. This does not include Gaza, right?
Also, I've seen reports that Hezbollah has even claimed attacks on Israel in the last 3 days, like even potentially one today. So I don't know how you can say it's an escalation when they have made continuous attacks on Israel in the last 3 days, like as being reported by several websites that I'm looking at right now. So like, how is it an escalation if it's 3 attacks in a row and then Israel sends one? Like, do you just expect them to lay down and roll over every time they get attacked, and for it not to be an escalation, or what is your determining factor there?
As we just saw on the casualty numbers, the war is pretty much one-sided.
Well, because it's one
So-
side's more skilled than the other, but continue.
Well, one side killed 600, the other side killed under 50. So we are talking about 12 times. One side killed 12 times as the other.
Yeah, but one side attacks like 5 times, and then the other side attacks like once. Like, okay, just because you got punched back harder, sorry. Like, maybe don't attack the guy 5 times and expect nothing to happen.
I'm sorry, but in war, you do not measure things in how many attacks there were. You measure things in how many deaths there were.
Yeah, you measure in how successful they were.
I do really not. I'm not getting your point because we just saw the numbers.
Okay, so like, let me
Israel is also attacking.
Let me just put it
Daily.
smaller. All right, just say it's like
Can
I
I
don't know,
ask
me
you a
and Bob,
question?
and I like stab the guy 5 times, and he doesn't die, but he shoots me. Who's at fault there?
First of all, Israel is not just defending themselves. This war has been for a long time running, so they are also attacking. And if there is a knife fight and you bring a gun and you kill the person you're fighting, then you are at fault and you will be tried for murder.
Wrong, absolutely wrong. We need to dive into that.
If it is not clear who started it, then yes. If I attack you with a knife and you answer me with a gun and you kill me, you will be tried for murder in any country in the world.
Not in Texas, they'll probably pin a medal on you. I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, maybe in the US where you have that weird laws, that it's different. But in any reasonable country in the world, you will be tried for murder.
Reasonable.
Okay, well, hypotheticals aside, we do have a situation.
There needs to be proportionality, which in this case we just saw there isn't. One side killed 12 times the other. And we are just talking about the Hezbollah conflict. We're not involving Gaza into this.
So during World War II, America killed, I think, about 10 times more Japanese soldiers than Japanese killed to Americans. Around that, right? Does that mean America was in the wrong?
There is a big difference between an open war and what is happening right there.
I don't see the difference. Can you explain that to me?
Well, in one side, it's an open war. Both countries were entirely dedicated to ending the other one. In this case, there isn't. Even in this time, Israel's economy is not dedicated to the eradication of the other side, and neither are the economies of Palestine or any other countries in the region.
So I'm pretty sure, at least on Hezbollah's side, I know with Hamas, but I'm not. You know what? I won't say it because I don't know for sure. I don't have the link in front of me. But Hezbollah, one of their goals is to eliminate Israel, unless they change that. They might have. I know Hamas is. Hamas, their stated goal is to wipe out Israel, right? They want it off the map. Pretty sure Hezbollah has at least
Yes.
at one point had a similar thing that they wanted. Am I wrong?
First of all, it's different what they say than what they actually do, because, I mean, Hamas had sit down in the negotiation for a ceasefire. So at least on the short term, they understand they cannot end Israel, so they are willing to negotiate.
Wait, so you're saying because they were strategic and knew they couldn't do what they wanted to do, and they were like, oh, we'll just stop for now until we are able to do what they wanted to do. It means that they're being good faith negotiators. Is that the argument that you're making?
My argument is that it doesn't matter what they want to do, it matters what they can do.
It doesn't matter what they want to do.
If
So
Mexico,
you're mad
if
because they have a
Mexico,
skill issue. That's what it is.
no,
That's what you're saying.
if Mexico wants to kill the US, it doesn't really matter because they're not able to do it.
I think it does matter because we can see how Hezbollah has been trying, right? They killed 12 children in a rocket attack just, a couple months ago? Right? So Israel isn't having no casualties here. And I don't know about you, but if a country is like actively targeting my children,
according to the casualty numbers, that must be pretty much all the civilian casualties they've made. So you can say one attack. Israel is carrying out these strikes
how many
daily.
do they need to kill before you think it's okay for Israel to respond? How many kids need to die before Israel can retaliate?
I could ask you exactly the same thing. How many need to die for Israel to be in the wrong? How many kids in Gaza? We are already at 10,000.
Well, maybe their parents shouldn't have put Hamas in charge. It's the same thing with the people in Israel. If they didn't want this to happen, don't put a government or in charge or a terrorist organization in charge that says in their charters that, hey, death to Israel, wipe them out. Like that. Like I don't understand why. If you're literally if that'd be like people voting in, I don't know, Hitler, and then going, oh well, we didn't really want this to happen, so don't count us in with this group of people. Like, no, that's why we had the Nuremberg trials. Like we hold people accountable, and that's why, like, the German citizens to this day, like, they ban, certain symbology, right? Because they're like, oh, we're ashamed of we as a populace. They took accountability. What you're trying to do is say these populations don't have to take accountability for putting these evil governments in power, and thus they shouldn't have to suffer any consequences. And I'm sorry, that's not how the real world works. Everybody has to take accountability at the end of the day, whether it's to pay in the piper when you get hit by a drone, or when it's having suffering bad living conditions.
I'll even say this. I think it's okay, actually, justified even, for Hamas and Hezbollah to attack Israeli military targets. They're at war. Yes, that's justified. That's the problem, though. They don't target the military targets.
They choose soft targets.
Yeah. But if all October 7th had been was them killing military targets, we would be having different conversations today.
We could say neither does Israel. You do not kill 10,000 children by just striking military targets.
The problem with Gaza,
we know they have attacked hospitals and schools,
sure, because Hamas utilizes those for military purposes.
They literally have rocket launchers on top of some of the schools. It's well documented.
Okay, I am from Spain, right? And a few years ago, 10 years ago, we used to have a terrorist group active in Spain. They killed 1,000 people during 30 years. Not a single civilian died in our fight against terrorism. Because we used the police. We used Secret Service. We did not bomb cities or towns where we knew they were hiding. I'm asking Israel to do the exact same thing as every European country has done to fight terrorism inside our borders.
But I thought unless you were saying that Palestine is inside the borders of Israel, which I don't think you believe. I think you believe that
in technical terms, they are 10 kilometers away.
Here's the thing: Hamas, like, is a different situation. It's a very unique situation because it has spent years building infrastructure that purposely embeds itself with the civilian infrastructure,
Yes,
right?
and
So they're in
and in
charge of
Spain,
building tunnels. They're in charge of running some of these hospitals. They're in charge of running some of these schools, right? They run the country. They are the quasi government, okay? And that is much different than Spain's issue, where you had them unable to utilize the same level of quasi governmental power, right? It's
they
not the same.
they did have, I think they did reach a majority approval in the region where they came from. So they did have popular support, and they did hide among civilians. And yet, we have a modern police force that was able to take care of that.
Yeah, but
And I'm
that's not
saying the
comparable.
IDF is not a modern.
It's not comparable to okay. This is like I don't know the specifics of the Spain terrorist
Yeah,
organization
you have
you're
us
talking
at
about.
a disadvantage there. I
Yeah,
don't know
but
the
that's fine. But
information.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
know.
make
I know.
some vast assumptions here, and I think they're pretty accurate ones. It doesn't seem to me like this terrorist organization, from based off what you've told me so far, had the means or the land or the at least the support from the general public to where they could build rocket launchers on schools and shoot rockets into another country. I mean, this is not the same. You can't compare a small group of terrorists to maybe some of the most successful quasi like governmental groups ever. Like they're like ISIS. ISIS formed a quasi government. It's a proto government. Hezbollah is like a de facto party in Lebanon and controls a third of the country. Hamas is the de facto rulers of Gaza. Like it's not. This is not the same. That'd be like saying the rednecks down the street in Texas that formed a militia is comparable to like the Mexican National Guard. It's ridiculous. Is really what you're doing. Like I just no. Like I'm sorry, I don't buy the analogy you're trying to give, or like and pass off like as an equal. Like, sorry, if you can't take a police force to go take out a group that literally can build rocket launchers on top of buildings and schools and like with impunity.
Okay, let's. I mean, I guess this situation basically ends up in a discussion on who is, as of today, the main obstacle to peace, whether it is Netanyahu or whether it is Hamas.
Why not both? Both have blood on their hands. Both are not good. Netanyahu is not an innocent here, but neither is
My question
Hamas,
is,
right?
my,
Like,
my question is, if a deal were to be reached tomorrow, where all hostages are released, and there's a permanent ceasefire, who would take it?
all hostages released.
A white peace.
I think
Yes.
that Israel is much more likely to take that than Hamas. I don't think Hamas has any intention of releasing live hostages. As we've seen, when Israel tries to get close to the hostages, they kill the hostages. They shoot them in the back of the head rather than release them. Willingly. That just happened like a month ago.
I'm not justifying that action, but that's.
But that we can infer from that. We can infer from that they probably don't want to willingly give these people up.
Yes, but that's what.
I mean, could you imagine what crimes those hostages would tell us about?
If Hamas were to release, so if when the IDF gets close to them, Hamas just lets the hostages go, then they wouldn't be hostages. I'm sorry, but that's why Hamas took them. So if the IDF gets close to them, they can kill them. That's what hostage means.
But okay, these are civilians. You don't have a problem with a group going and purposely taking these civilians.
Don't get me wrong. I do condemn that action, and that's why I do also want Israeli hostages freed.
Look, I think
I'm only saying that we cannot infer that Hamas is not willing to release them because they killed the hostages when the IDF was going to release them, because that's what you do with hostages. That's why you take them.
Well, Gibbs and what's your name? Nikolai?
Thanks for having me.
Nicholas, yes.
Nicholas. Thank you for calling in.
Good.
I'm gonna let you guys go. I don't know what to say to that, Kings. where do we go from there? Any other thoughts on the Operation Circumcision here? Look, like I said, given the early reports, and it is early, I'll sum this up. I'll sum this up for us, okay? Today, it looks like Israel, they haven't taken credit for it yet, but all signs point to it, right? It looks like Israel was able to execute an attack on Hezbollah. And that attack was by sabotaging, either through hacking or through planting IEDs on them, the pagers that Hezbollah militants and Hezbollah itself was using in its operations, okay? An unknown number of pagers went kablooey, and the numbers I'm looking at right now, right, and there's up-to-date data as I can find, shows that there has been 11 deaths and about 4,000 casualties from that event, right? Injuries, etc. Out of the 11 deaths, it looks like 2 were civilians. One was a child, a 10-year-old girl. It's horrific, right? But it looks like the rest, at least when it comes to the deaths, were militants. I think that this attack was surgical. It was definitionally discriminate. And it looks to be, at least on its face, fairly successful. It has succeeded at both injuring the enemy as well as destroying their communications network and severely disrupting their future communications as well. So, by any means, a success. Again, reporting might come out. Those ratios might change. Those numbers might get skewed. We'll see. But as of now, that's the information we have. That's the information that we have. That's our thoughts. Per Thompson says, I was so aggravating to listen to. Why were you aggravating to listen to, buddy? What were you aggravating about? So, you guys do know, right? And I think everyone knows, it's in my descriptions. I get paid by Progressive Victory. You guys are aware. I hope you are at this point, right? If you've been watching me and you're not aware, I don't know what you're doing at this point. Like, what's going on? The reason I'm bringing that up, and there's a reason I'm bringing that up, is because I want to talk, and they paid me to do this, to be clear, right? I want to talk about a phone bank opportunity that Progressive Victory is hosting that you can join, okay? So this is kind of a call to action. I'm going to put a link in here into the chats that I have, okay? And it's in the description of the YouTube video as well, where you can click on it and you can go and you can phone bank for Harris Walz, in particular, to make sure Democrats are able to vote for Harris Walz come November. It's about voter protection. You don't need to have any previous experience in this, okay? You don't need to be trained. They'll do all that for you, okay? Pretty open. We have phone bank opportunities, multiple, that you can sign up for. So I'm going to put the link in chat, and if you'd like, please sign up, okay? So in this interim, you know, a little shilling for the people who pay me, okay? A little shilling for them. And to be clear, I actually support phone banking. Phone banking is good. Getting involved in your, what's it called? Local government is good. Being involved federally is good. We talk all the time. We yap, yap, yap. This is a way you can actually do something that's effective, right? I don't think you're going to be phoning any pagers, so no risk of blowing anyone up. But maybe, who knows, right? But yeah, there you go. There's the links in chat. You can click, and you can go do that if you'd like. Okay. That's it. I, today, am going to talk a little bit about a take I made recently that people had a lot of issues with. And I am here to say I stand by my take 100%. I think that the data, right? The data backs me up here. And I think that my opponents are just wrong in this. So let me kind of give you let me get to it. Hold on, give me a second. I had this all set up, and then the Operation Circumcision happened, and we had to switch gears a little bit. But here, I'll bring up the tweet, and we'll discuss it. Okay. This is the tweet I'm responding to. Okay, I'll start there, and we'll go and we'll see what we got. So, Scientific American. They tweeted this out on September 16th, so yesterday, okay? For only the second time in our 179-year history, the editors of Scientific American are endorsing a candidate for president. That person is Kamala Harris. I made a response to this because I had a thought, okay? And here is my response. As someone who is voting for Harris, science magazines and journals shouldn't be endorsing political candidates. It will only erode trust in science and further politicize it. That's true, gang. It's of institutional neutrality, academic neutrality, and scientific neutrality. Why these things are something that we care about, why we should care about them, and the effects, both positive and negative, of what happens when a scientific journal decides to violate that neutrality, even, right? Even when it's for a cause I support, right? And again, like I said, I'm voting for Harris. I'm a Harris voter. I endorse Harris for president, but I'm not a scientific journal. Let me start, I guess, this way. Okay, let me start this way. If any science journal that you know, okay, if any science journal that you know had come out and endorsed Trump, would that make you more or less likely to trust their opinions or their thoughts on science in general, right? Like, so say Nature magazine came out and endorsed Trump. Would you be more or less likely to take what they have to say in the future seriously? Give you a second, right? So we actually have data on this, which we'll get to. But the answer is you would take it less seriously because they have said something that you find to be totally false, right? They have decreased their credibility, okay? This has been happening over and over again in recent years. And when it does, in academia, in science, you see the inevitable result that trust in these institutions declines. That's not just on the right. Again, I have data. You guys have your theories. I got some science. And it's been amusing to me to watch all the people claim how MAGA denies science all the time if it doesn't fit their narrative. And then when I provide some science that doesn't fit the narrative of those I'm talking to, they proceed to ignore it and deny it. But rather than me talking about this, let's look at what the science says, okay? I did mention Nature, so let's start there. Let's start with Nature magazine, okay? Nature is a pretty well-respected scientific journal. For those of you who don't know, oh my God, let me adjust this, okay? And they actually made an endorsement, a political endorsement last cycle. So they decided to actually do a study on it and see the effects. And this, published on March 20th of 2023, are their findings. Political endorsements can affect scientific credibility. In 2020, Nature endorsed Joe Biden in the U.S. presidential election. A survey finds that viewing the endorsement did not change people's views of the candidates, but caused some to lose confidence in Nature and in U.S. scientists generally. Now, that's the article on it. I also have the actual report here somewhere, right? The actual, what's it called? Study. But this is an article about it. But here is, I believe, pretty sure this is a study. No, this is another study done that said the same thing. Done in 2020, okay? I have the actual research. I'll find it. It's somewhere in my notes. Again, I got messed up with the bomb stuff, but there's a lot here, right? But let's go through it. And let's see what Nature magazine has to say. Let's see what the scientists have to say. And then you can come at me after that. How's that? Okay. And this, again, this isn't the only one we have. We do have a paper on politicized scientists, credibility, cost of political expression on Twitter, where the abstract here says the study measures scientists' polarization on social media and its impact on public perceptions of their credibility. They analyzed 98,000 scientists on Twitter from 2016 to 2022, and it reveals a significant divergence in expressed political opinions. An experiment assesses the impact of online political expression on a representative sample, who rated vignettes with synthetic academic profiles varying scientists' political affiliations based on real tweets. Politically neutral scientists are viewed as the most credible. Strikingly, on both the left and right sides of politically neutral, there is a monotonic penalty for scientists displaying political affiliations. The stronger their posts, the less credible their profile and research are perceived, and the lower the public's willingness to read their content. The penalty varies with respondents' political leanings. Yeah, no shit. No shit, ladies and gentlemen. No shit. Okay. At this point, you might be asking yourself, why do we care, right? Why do we care if MAGA doesn't trust science anymore? There's a very good reason we should care. If science becomes overly politicized and only one side trusts it, then you are going to have science take a back seat in a way that we don't like. It will be used as a weapon in culture wars. It will be used as a weapon in political wars, and we want people to follow the science. When people follow the science, they tend to be healthier, happier, saner, all these good things, right? All these good things. When people reject science, it leads to really bad outcomes. Now you could argue, oh, well, only one side's rejecting the science right now. That's not entirely true, but I'll go with you with it, right? Fair enough, but there's no reason to exacerbate that, right? Because when they don't trust the science, when we have scientific info that is important for them, we need a way to communicate it to them because they're people too, and we need to be able to do that. And it just creates this further, like, shattering of reality where we live more and more in two separate realities, okay? And that's not good. It's causing all these problems. And we want to solve that. Okay, here's one you guys will like. Say the Supreme Court of the United States made an endorsement for a presidential candidate. Would that be bad? Would you condemn that? You should. It would be terrible. The reason it would be terrible is because in order for it to function properly, the Supreme Court of the United States needs to be viewed as impartial, right? Or as impartial as they possibly can. And when you hurt that perception, it hurts the organization's or the institution's ability to do its damn job. Same with science. You need people to actually trust what they say, because that's how we get like decisions made, things like that. We want that to be leading the process here, right? And when you stop a science magazine or journal from being able to do its job, when they're worried about whether they're going to be politically correct if they put out this article, or whether or not that they should do this study because it might be politically irresponsible or they might face political backlash, it interferes with their ability to do their job. Academia has been learning this lesson, okay? Recently, academia has had some changes, some come to Jesus moments, okay? It took years, but elite colleges are learning the value of institutional neutrality. You guys all saw the, speaking of Israel-Palestine, right? You guys saw all the Harvard announcements about how they stood with one side or the other, right? And how it's made it just harder for the institutions to actually do the job that they're there for. Because Harvard isn't there to weigh in. Harvard's not there to be an activist. We have groups that are activists, right? We have institutions that are activist institutions. Fair enough, fine. We have a space for that, right? But it's very important that we have institutionally neutral spaces that are trusted by both sides, where both sides can interact without feeling that they're being targeted or being prejudiced against, etc., right? It's very important that we have these spaces. Very important. Give me a second. Let me check some of my YouTube chat. The way I have set it up, I can't really look at YouTube chat while I look at the rest of the stuff. Audacity says, does this logic track for public figures that become political, or just ones that already have a D or R next to their name? So, well, we can look at Taylor Swift as an example. An unimportant example, an example, because really, whether Taylor Swift is seen as politically neutral has no effect. It does not matter. No one cares, right? But you can see how when she makes a political endorsement, people will hate her or love her, trust her more or trust her less based on that political endorsement and based on whether or not they agree with that political endorsement. Same thing happens with with institutions. When an institution makes a statement or a ruling or makes an endorsement of a political candidate, it causes people to see them through a political lens, which in the case of science magazines and journals and things like that, it damages their ability to do their job, which is to disseminate scientific information to the public, right? To be trusted and to increase. And I do think that journals specifically have a duty to increase public trust in science. Do you guys disagree? I know some of you do. Doralicious says, good points, Wick. Been wrestling with this as a scientist, considering how to be an activist. Have to go, but looking forward to the VOD. Look, I don't think it's as important that individual scientists remain politically neutral, because obviously they have their preferences, right? That's fine. But we're talking institutions here. And I think that institutions do have a duty that individuals do not, right? Institutions have a responsibility that individuals don't necessarily have. In the military, we have this responsibility. So when I served in the military, there were certain rules about what I could and could not do activism-wise while I was in uniform, or while I was, or could be perceived as, representing the military. I couldn't go to a protest in a military uniform, right? Not unless I got like super specific approval, had to go through all these like you have to go through a lot, okay? It's also a pretty common practice, pretty standard practice for generals, etc., not to usually make political endorsements, right? Especially not under the purview of them being active figures in the military, active leaders in the military. It happens, but it's generally not good when it does. And there's rules regarding it, and there's regulations regarding it, because we recognize that it is important for the American public to view the military as politically neutral. Same with the Supreme Court. And I would argue, same with academia, and same with science. Lactoid TV says, why should Republicans trust other claims of the Scientific American when they know its staff are willing to put the name of the magazine on the side of opposing Republicans? Well, yeah, that's the argument, right? Some of you want to argue with me, so I'm going to bring you on. Okay, give me a second. Okay, we got the right thing. You guys got cameras today or not?
Yeah, I got a camera.
Yeah, turn them on.
Yeah.
Hey,
oh,
wait,
sorry, I didn't see the channel change.
No, that's all good. Take your time.
Howdy.
No rush. Howdy, howdy.
I like my picture more than my face, so we're
Okay.
gonna
Face.
It's whatever, right? I like
Right.
your picture more than your face too. But yeah, you guys have been pretty adamant that I'm wrong here.
You are.
So please, one at a time, and the floor is yours, gentlemen. Go ahead.
You can go ahead
I'll
first.
let him go first.
Oh, me? Oh, fuck. Okay, fine.
You
Yeah.
prepared more than I did.
So, I guess my broad position on this is I probably would have agreed with you prior to 2020, prior to the COVID pandemic. That is really like crucial that we don't have scientific institutions or journals, etc., making political advocacies or commentaries or any sort of that thing. The problem is that COVID happened. We are now in a world where one side of the political aisle in America, at least one candidate who has a large majority of support in the country, is explicitly anti-science and is pro-misinformation, and he has a long history and a record of being anti-science and pro-misinformation. This is the reason that Scientific American endorsed Joe Biden in 2020, and this is the reason that they endorsed Kamala Harris in 2024, because Donald Trump being like anti-empiricism is a threat to the country. And I think it's actually unethical of them to not comment on that if they believe that he is, as I believe, an anti-empirical actor.
Okay. Go ahead, Ellen, and then Illuminator.
I would like to talk more about just like on the philosophical. Like, I just like curious about Wick. You think that the Democrats themselves are better on science than Republican? I personally want to know what you believe.
Most of the time, yeah. Not all the time.
So, like-
right? Like here's a I think a clear example where you guys
I think
aren't following
it's
the
like
science.
problematic from a scientific perspective to not be able to like say one side is better on science. That you effectively you have to lie by omission almost to not say that. Is there never a situation where silence is more partisan than speaking out?
There can be absolutely where silence is not the way here, but the data we have, and just if I may finish, like the scientific data we have, and I pulled up those studies and I can link them to you, right? Shows that two things that are pointed to by the evidence, that the Scientific American and Nature specifically, that their endorsements have no positive or negative effects on the candidate either way, right? No one is voting for or against Trump because of a Nature endorsement, right? And two, it does.
Hey, how do you know that?
Because the studies have shown.
He pulled up the
Okay,
studies.
Like, do you have did they drop an ActBlue rate? Do you have a click rate? Do you have any kind of data based on do you have any empirical data that maybe they have
I'll
themselves
just link
that
it to you.
they could show? Because Taylor Swift's stuff, her ActBlue link resulted in something like I read 300,000. Other people have read more voter registrations. Like, is there any kind of like that data seems important before you could even like make this assertion?
I mean, I read through the study. I didn't, but maybe I missed something, but I didn't see any
There's no
indications of
click-through
those.
rate on Act Blue, right? There wasn't any, right? But that wasn't what they were
No, what I'm
measuring.
saying is you would need that
What were they?
information
What?
before you could
How
speak
were they?
confidently.
How were they counting whether or not it had any impact?
For
Well-
Taylor Swift, they used the registrations at like right after she announced, and then they were able to tie people that clicked on her link to certain registrations, and it resulted in like 300,000. I'm saying that nature probably has something of the same vein somewhere. We would need that data before we could definitively say either way.
But it sounded like Wick had something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wick
I
had those
posted them in
studies,
the
yeah.
side chat here, right? I've posted both the article to a report. There's also the report itself I posted. I had
Yeah,
the
I read
had the
both.
article,
Was there?
right? But what the unless
Does
you're saying the
sentiment
research
always
is
equal
wrong,
registration?
which is fine, but the research that they've done on this, right? And here's even another one, right? Back in 2020 that I could share with you, right? But it shows that leading peer-reviewed journalists condemning or endorsing a candidate does not substantively influence someone's decision to vote or not to vote. But what it does, what is statistically significant, is their trust in both that specific institution and science in general. And there's
But
a
MAGA
pretty
voters already
clear
don't care about
cut.
science. Like the Trump cult already doesn't care about science,
Do you
right?
think
These are
that's
people that
bad
will like.
that they don't?
Yeah, I do think it's
Yes.
bad, but
So
I
do
think
you
what
want to
you're.
make
I
it
don't think
worse?
I don't think that we
No.
can make it worse. The
You're
gulf has
incorrect.
already been created. We have already passed that line, okay? We need to start thinking about what to do from this point forward. You are living in like 2012, where you think that there is some sort of like reasonability with the like Trump cult with regards to like scientific fact. It's just not. It's just gone. If he says it, if he says the sky is red, you will be arguing with Rob Noor and Andrew Wilson tomorrow on why the sky is red. That's where we are right now.
So
Wait,
I mean, I
Can
think.
oh, please go ahead.
Can I?
Illuminator.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I?
The-
Yeah.
Illuminator. I want to hear
you
from
can go
Illuminator. Go
first.
ahead.
Yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead, Eliminator.
Some of the things that Trump said and did is counter to science, and this is why I mean I agree with the other two guys here. Is that climate change? He has been gutting environmental regulations. He left the Paris Climate Accords. With regard to COVID, he deleted the rapid response team for pandemics and epidemics. He wanted to defund the WHO. The whole entire COVID response was just a disaster from the point of view of believing in science and kind of thinking about this kind of stuff. He canceled the Iran nuclear deal, which is also scientifically terrible, right? We have no idea what the hell is going on in Iran as far as their nuclear stuff goes.
Like, does it not give you pause to think of a party that is anti-empiricist to its own detriment? Do you agree that the Republican Party is anti-empiricist to its own detriment?
Yes.
Okay.
So to the extent that we can stop it from being worse, because I reject the idea that we can't change it for the better, right? I reject the idea that this is a state that we cannot get ourselves out of. And I would point to one of the reasons, not the only reason by any means, maybe even not the main reason, but a contributing factor that data has shown does contribute to this is these the politicization. And what I mean by that is the partisanization, if you will.
So what is your response to all of the things that Trump did?
So it would be okay, and I think eminently reasonable to showcase science on why he's wrong on issue X, Y, and Z. Why was it, from a scientific perspective, wrong to get out of the nuclear Iran deal? And you can have a study done, use a scientific method to do so, and showcase that in your journal. If that's what you'd like to do,
Do you think that would be effective?
I think that's fine. I think
swaying
it's
MAGA
more
voters?
effective than saying...
How?
Well,
Like, why?
because
Why do you
are
think
talking
that?
an issue and not a person. Does that make sense?
Well, right.
Felix?
So you had these studies, though, that were talking about how these political endorsements by scientific journals, like all they do is like damage the credibility of the institution. But now you're making these pretty broad claims about like why this like strategy that you're advocating for would be better. But I don't see how.
Well, I can show you why. Because when you ask
Hey.
right wingers about I'll just demonstrate to you this real quick. If you ask a right winger who lives in a red state about individual issues that are left leaning, a lot of them will agree with you. A lot of them will get on board with you. That's why even in red states, a lot of ballot initiatives where you are just voting for a single thing, where be it legalizing marijuana, be it protections for abortion on your constitution, right? They generally vote more left in a lot of these issues. Not all of them, but a lot of these issues, they generally vote for more left because it's
Which
not been
states?
politicized or partisanship. It's not become part of the DR debacle that we have, right? And so that they will absolutely, and we saw this in Kentucky, right? Or Kansas, I'm sorry. We saw this in Kansas and we saw this in Ohio. Both states that went for Trump, very hard, went for Trump, but both voted for pretty left-leaning abortion policies in their constitution after the fall of Roe v. Wade. So again, this is when I say by bringing it back from the DR fight and speaking to specific individual issues and not partisan, making it a partisan fight. When you endorse someone, though, what you are doing is you are throwing your hat in this partisan fight ring. So if we want to combat this, we pick individual issues that we can back by science, that are backed by science, and we use science, we use the scientific method, peer review, all of that to show why this is true and this is not. But when
You mean like
just
when
say it, when
You think this is true across all institutions?
Most of them, not all.
Do you think that this applies to
I
Taylor
like-
Swift at all?
No, Taylor Swift is a celebrity.
Okay, but
what,
like,
what
do
institution is she a
people-
part
hold
of? The entertainment.
Well,
industry?
what about
She's a larger organization than PV, probably.
what about newspapers, other magazines, private companies?
Well, a political.
Is this
political
just science?
newspaper is expected to be political, right? I think that academia, like colleges, shouldn't be weighing in on foreign affairs or making
What if it
endorsements
affects their
for
bottom
president
line?
either.
Like in terms of what they want. Like I would imagine academia is very pro Roe v. Wade or pro like choice because being anti-choice like actually like affects the amount of people that can do the science. You know, they have these young professional women and stuff like that. They don't want them all bare feet and pregnant. They want them in the lab doing work. Like he's not supporting some a candidate that would like protect something like that seems antithetical to their own bottom line.
Yeah,
of, like,
but
what they
again,
wanna
the science
achieve.
suggests the method that you are advocating for, that they go about doing it, is going to not only not help in that regard, but
You think that
actively
says
hurt
anything,
in
like,
that regard.
Gross about like humans? You think that says anything bad about humanity?
Maybe, but we got to deal with reality how it is rather than how we would like it to be.
So I have
I
a
mean,
question,
is-
I guess.
Okay, ask your question, please.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
and thank you
if we
for
want to take,
thank you for the sub, Parallax. Parallax says, "I have just woken, fellow degens. Why does the dude in the top right look like Xander Hall got testosterone replacement therapy? I don't know. Sorry,
you're talking about me?
I think so. But go ahead.
I'm the big JC. I just got a haircut. But no, so if you want to take a specific scientific issue, then let's take one. When Trump was going around telling people to acquire ivermectin and gather that up to as like a way to prevent the spread of COVID or to lessen the symptoms or whatever the hell nonsense bullshit he was saying at the time, and all of these researchers were coming out saying, well, this is inconclusive. We don't know. You could actually be causing harm to yourself. Did it stop Trumples from getting ivermectin and shooting it into their butts?
To
It did
answer
not.
that, I would need to know
It didn't
what would
exactly.
Well, no, we can't say
Yeah,
that.
it
That's an unscientific statement because we haven't isolated the variable. And you'd have to ask yourself, would more have done that if scientists hadn't come out and said, well, actually, we don't know here? Would there
I just
be
feel like you're
more people
disagreeing with the
doing it?
concept of marketing, Wick. Like like the idea that seeing more like humans in like just like on a very basic level, like there, you know, can you acknowledge that there are a large, there is a percentage amount of voters that vote just for who they think is going to win?
Oh, yeah. If we go into reasons why individuals vote, they vary from on a wide margin. Some people do it because the voices in their head say something, right? But we're talking
That's why I
generalities
vote.
here, right?
Oh, I feel like, okay, like am I taking crazy pills here? Maybe this is just like a dumb Midwesterner thing, but I have like known people's dads who just vote for who they think are gonna win. Like, can we agree that that's
Yeah,
like a thing that
happens,
exists?
I'm sure.
Okay, so like why do people put yard signs everywhere? Like people like just having as many endorsements and stuff like that. Like like whether or not you want to speak of just the amount of endorsements themselves. Like if what you were saying was true, then having more endorsements wouldn't be an advantage.
So one of the reasons that endorsements are important is because, yeah, nothing succeeds like success. One of the reasons that people put bumper stickers in their car, signs outside their yard, raise different types of paraphernalia, MAGA hats, Kamala Harris Waltz hats, whatever, is to show we're part of a team, right? We are on this team. Do you think that it's probably a bad thing when a scientific institution or a college, right, whose purpose is to be for everyone, decides to pick a team?
Okay, no, a college.
Not when the other team is anti-science. That's the part that you refuse to accept. This is why I said you had a fence post up your ass last night.
What are you talking
Because at a
about? Like,
certain
you're
point,
being
you
anti-science
have
right
to
now. You
I'm
know
not.
this is true.
I'm being anti-science.
I've
How?
given you two scientific reports, at least, that showcase what I'm saying is correct. That A, endorsements by political, scientific
Is
journals.
this one? Okay, are
Hold
we
on, let
basing
me
all
finish.
this off
Let
one
me
study?
finish, or I'll mute you. Right.
Let me finish.
So one, right. The scientific endorsements from these journals, or political endorsements from these scientific journals, don't move the goalpost on who's
That
voting
doesn't
for
matter.
who. There doesn't seem to be any kind of
That's a
moving
single
the needle
study.
there. And second, right? And second, it shows that it actively hurts the trust in institutions and in science in general. So given those two things are the case, and that's what the science says, the fact that you're being like, "Nuh-uh, my feelings say differently," is very anti-science.
Wick, if you came to my house and beat the shit out of me right now and left me bruised with all of my broken bones and I'm laying on the ground in like a broken pile and then somebody comes up and they like spit on me, I'm going to be real. I don't think that causes much more harm to me than you already did. I think we are at a point where we have to start drawing hard fucking lines in order to save this fucking country because we have a party that is anti-empiricism, anti-constitution, and wants to elect a guy who already tried to overthrow the fucking government. Like, look, I can totally empathize with wanting to remain nonpartisan. I want to be nonpartisan. I talk with my very conservative father all the time about how I wish that the election was Gavin Newsom versus Nikki Haley. I would love to be able to look at policy positions in order to decide who I'm voting for president. But we don't live in that world right now because Donald Trump is a threat to America in like so many different ways. And I know you agree with that.
I don't. I'm not nonpartisan.
You don't?
I'm not nonpartisan. I don't pretend to be a centrist.
I'm sorry.
I don't don't pretend to be a fence sitter here. I'm just saying that I too would like the country not to be destroyed, and I think that this increasing partisanization of institutions is accelerating what is going on. Go ahead.
Wick, when one,
I need to ask, Wick, are we basing all of this off one study?
Two
studies? Like,
No, wait, is it two
like
studies or is it one study and an article
Twitter.
about the study?
Right.
Okay.
There's two articles in Nature, right? One is the actual study, and then the other is the article from the
in 2020. One's in 2023.
Yeah.
One's in 2020.
Okay, because I read a Nature article by the editorial board of Nature that explained why they did it, even though they understood that there were risks to it, as far as pushing people over. But
to ascribe political positions based off two fucking studies.
How many do you need?
I need more than two. Like, I would like a meta study. I would like it to be localized across different demographics.
Here's one from 2017.
The position is indefensible even with the two studies.
I would like to see data from different Nature magazines. I would like to see how it is from maybe less reputable versus more reputable. I would like to be able to see all those numbers just so I can. I don't feel like I have enough information as to be as confident as you are.
I mean, I have some questions about the study. I don't know how much of it you read, Wick. But the methodology seems like there's some issues with it because they basically said you were endorsing at the time it was Biden, and this is the Nature study. We're endorsing Biden, and then they were giving a control group and the actual endorsement as something to read for both Trump and Biden supporters. And then they asked what happened, and obviously a bunch of the Trump supporters moved over to not trusting what Nature was saying and not believing that they could be.
Do you think it would be better if they did?
No, I think no. I'm not really done. What I would have liked to have seen would be the study being that the Biden supporters got a Trump endorsement and the Trump supporters got a Biden endorsement. That way, you could see how much movement there would be on the other side.
Sure.
Because
Well, this is what
it's a little half-assed.
I get you. Well, I also put this. I think I put this in the side chat, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But the 2020 the 2020 study that I linked there does go for left and right. It does have. Again, I'm going to quote from the abstract here. Strikingly, on both the left and the right sides of politically neutral, there is a monotonic penalty for scientists displaying political affiliations. The stronger their post, the less credible their profile and research are perceived, and the lower the public's willingness to read their content. The penalty varies with respondents' political leanings. But in this case, both on the left and the right, if an endorsement or if a scientist is perceived as being a political actor, the other side, left or right, trusts their research less.
Wick, if you had to make a guess, why would you guess that Trump supporters were, like, the number one reason why Trump supporters were suspicious of the science around COVID-19 during the pandemic? Do you think it had anything to do with presidential endorsements by scientific journals? Or do you think it had to do with the fact that the president was telling them that they could inject bleach into themselves, or that they should look into it?
A lot of factors that we have.
See, that's what I call the fence-sitting bullshit. You know the answer, you just don't want to say it. Of course it's because Trump was telling his fucking... He was beating this shit right into their brain.
Which party was anti-vax in 2012?
Who was anti-vax in 2012? The left. Why do you think that was?
Yes,
no, wait,
this is important.
I don't think it. I think that anti-vax.
Do you think it was because they received messages from an ideologue who was also the president of the United States?
Back in 2012, if I have to remember.
People who were anti-vax in 2012 were like Jenny McCarthy and
hippies.
Yeah, and a bunch of hippies.
Yeah, not woke. That wasn't even a thing. But yeah,
like Democrats.
Sure.
Like I would consider them like more of a subculture that mostly non-voters.
That's like a fringe extreme end of like the far, far left, where what we're talking about now is the broad majority of Trump supporters just were not wearing masks or following social distancing or following any of these things that were being recommended by top researchers. And then you're going to sit there and say, I don't know, it's a variety of factors.
Because it got to be a partisan issue. It turned into a partisan issue.
Who turned it into a partisan issue? Who turned it into a partisan issue?
Both sides.
It wasn't Nature magazine.
Was it the Dems?
Hey, Wick, I'm gonna post this in the YouTube chat real quick. Please. I feel like this other article, Arthur
side chat on
Lupia
Discord
has another analysis that he says
the side chat on Discord. You just click open chat and it should show you.
Here, I just found an article that says that
post correctly.
the person that wrote your study, that Americans still have more faith in the scientific community than any other civic, cultural, and government institutions.
Yes, but according to Pew Research from 2022, it's the lowest it's ever been. That might be true.
Wait, do we know if that's a direct result of this publication choosing to endorse a candidate rather than COVID misinformation blowing up at the same time?
To be fair to Wick, this is. I don't think Wick is saying that Nature or Scientific American has a giant impact on.
It's not solely responsible.
It's directionally the wrong direction. That's what you're saying, right? I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but yeah.
It's like a fire, right? It's just it's another brick in the wall. It might not be the majority of the bricks. It might not be a major brick, but it directionally, as you said, it's the wrong direction to take. And it has zero benefit and just all these downsides.
Yeah, I don't think that when you keep saying zero benefit, that doesn't matter. The way people vote based on this doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is whether or not you make people like en masse believe less in science. And I just don't think that the freedom of speech of the editorial board of Nature and Scientific American is more important than that.
Well, I'm not asking
I'm just
them
curious
to
how this
be
person.
Well, you are
arrested
asking them to shut
or
up.
be
You're asking them to
censored.
not say anything.
I'm saying that this is not what you should be doing. Yes, just like I would protect a Nazi's right to fly his flag, but I would, if he asked me, say, bro, that's probably not the move.
So if a Nazi was elected as president of the United States and began carrying out Nazi policies, you would say, well, I don't know, a variety of factors could have driven people to agree with these, rather than the president of the United States advocating for them personally.
What? Repeat that, please.
Well, so okay, let me rephrase that. My issue here is that you seem to be placing the message impact that journals like Scientific fucking American have on people's perception of science's validity. You're placing that on the same level as what Trump says to his supporters. That's what's happening right here, and that's just completely indefensible.
I couldn't tell you which is more impactful. I could probably
Yes, you
say-
can. That's bullshit. No, yes, you can. You can make a reasonable guess. Absolutely, you can.
Okay, this reasonable guess stuff. This is why
I
call
asked
you
for a reasonable guess
anti-science.
earlier, and you wouldn't give it. I said, "What do you think the chief?
Because
What
I
do you
have
think was
some
most
evidence to
responsible?"
suggest one thing. I don't have evidence to suggest either way. Now I can infer reasonably, right? I could reasonably think that it probably had some impact. It probably had some
Wait,
impact.
who had some
Okay,
impact?
I just
Trump
need
or-
a second, 'cause
Trump.
I'm just looking at this other article and it feels like it's conflicting with the study you're citing, and it's coming from the same researcher. Key findings include 84% of those surveyed reported that they are either very confident or somewhat confident that scientists provide the public with trustworthy information. If they have like such a high percentage of like confidence in like the scientists providing the public with trustworthy information, and why is a scientific institution endorsing a candidate like creating less distrust?
Okay, this is from November 14th, 2023. I'll also put it in the side chat. This is America's trust in scientists. Positive views of science continue to decline among both Democrats and Republicans. Trust in scientists is lower than before the pandemic. And I'll put that in the side
Isn't
chat
that
for
because
you.
anyone that's still in the Republican Party probably is not going to be have their mind changed by science? You can agree that there's probably like, if you are a scientifically literate person, you are more likely to be a Democrat in the United States. Is that correct?
Yeah, I could go with that. I don't know if that's true, but it sounds true.
Okay, so
Don't know if
like,
it's true, but it sounds true.
could we be having like like, I feel like we're kind of we're eating our tail here because we're just like, we're assuming the cause of distrust is not just because the Republicans have a fundamentally
There's
less scientific
several
party.
reasons. This is what I'm trying to get you guys to understand. There are several reasons, and while Science Magazine might not even be the major reason, it is a contributing
You
factor.
don't think so?
Okay. So, yes, there are several reasons. Nobody is disputing that. What I am saying, and what I believe the other two people here are saying as well, is that we have to assign priority to the problems we intend to fix. We can't literally fix every single problem at the same time. And I'm saying that clearly.
What do you
Donald
think is
Trump
easier to do? Change the
Win the
editorial
win the
position
election with as
of
many
a
endorsements
scientific
possible,
journal,
including from
or
Scientific
change
American.
Trump's
Yeah.
mind?
I'm not talking about changing Trump's mind. I'm talking about keeping him out of office.
Sure, I'm doing that anyway. So given that the fact that I'm doing that anyway, I can focus on other areas that also need to be changed. I can walk and chew gum at the same time. It's possible. I promise.
Do you think that by using your platform not to draw attention to the main focus of the main cause of spread of disinformation in the country in the past like 8 years, but rather using it to distract with a different? Do you think that that's a responsible way to use your platform?
Do you think I'm not talking about Trump and his threat on my platform?
Could you just answer the question?
No, I reject the idea that I have to use my platform in a way that you find responsible. Yes, I reject
It's not about what I find responsible. It's about
think it would be
tackling the issues in
irresponsible.
order of priority. And I think
feel like
your prioritization here is way out of whack.
Hold
I feel
on.
like, yeah,
I have more shows on why Trump is bad, more topics on why Trump is bad than I've ever done shows on this. Ever.
maybe you just needed a preamble to say, look, Trump is probably responsible for 90% of the science haters in the United States today, but let's talk today about, Nature and Scientific American doing endorsements and why they shouldn't. And then we can have a discussion about that.
You play cover for Trump.
I'm not.
That would be my direct accusation.
cover
Here,
for
look. Let me
Trump.
moderate a little bit because I feel like we're jumping him. Okay.
No, you can.
I don't.
Here, I
want
have a buddy now.
Okay, hi Lactoid. Okay, I can absolutely see a world where there's a utilitarian standpoint in which,
Hi
hey,
Lactoid, what's up?
statistically speaking,
Hey, what's up?
if you
Hi, buddy.
endorse a certain candidate, you are less likely to get that candidate elected, and thus it is a good idea not to do that. I can conceive of that world. What I'm saying is we don't have the data to say that for sure. So, I would just need to know what, I just feel like this is kind of like an irresponsible thing. I could see it being true for some publications based on their readership. I could see it being not true for others. It just seems like a very, you're casting too wide of a net here.
When you say too wide of a net, do you mean I'm overstating my case? Is that your accusation?
Yes, you're overstating the case. I feel like 2 studies is not enough. I feel like it would need to be backed up by data on certain publications. We could compare and contrast demographic trends. It's not like every company's readership is the same. Just as the way as there's regions that like Pepsi and Coke for no over Coke for no particular reason. Marketing and figuring out demographic is really hard.
Let me just kind of put the bullet points out there for you guys about what happened here. I saw a tweet from Scientific American that endorsed a political candidate. I think that when a scientific journal or an academic institution or the military or the Supreme Court makes an endorsement of a political candidate, that hurts America. And so I commented on that. And I said, hey, I think that Scientific American, that endorsing a political candidate not only doesn't help get that candidate elected, but it also erodes the public trust in science, and I think they have a responsibility not to do that. That's what I said, right? But apparently, I can't say that without adding 200 modifiers that Trump is bad. No, gang, I said that all the time. I say this constantly. Trump's bad. I'm voting for Harris. I'm not voting for Trump. Trump is
my
bad.
Idea is more. My main opposition is more principled. Beyond the data that you don't know, it's also just I feel like it's weird that scientific journals can't be honest. Is that not a worse? They can't be Trump is scientifically a worse candidate, and scientists can't say that. That feels like it's hurting their free speech.
Hold on. Ant says religion was literally supposed to be apolitical. Where's Wergie's argument on that one gone? Look, gang, trust in religious institutions is down a lot too since it became political, and a lot less Americans are religious or believing in religion since that's become a thing. I wonder if that doesn't support my argument maybe just a little here.
Wait, I'm sorry. Religion and science are equivalent institutions to you?
Oh my God.
Also, support for science has gone up until COVID.
I wonder why that was. What happened during COVID? Was some
sure
highly ranking politician making
science
statements that were
became much more politicized.
Yeah, by who?
By everyone.
Not by everyone. That's ridiculous. This is the fence post. Pull it out of your ass. It's coming out of your eye. It's so far
it in a way that favored him. If you would have asked me, hey, there's going to be a pandemic that's overwhelmingly going to affect old people, which party is going to take it more seriously? I would have said Republicans, because it's in their interest to do so, because a good chunk of their party is mostly old people, okay, compared to Democrats. But then the fact that they came out against it killed their own supporters and stuff like that, because it was conspiracism over their own material interest.
Okay, Lactoid, go ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you. So I want to first give you credit for how calm you're being here. I think that you could be a lot meaner than you are, but I think that's good. It's good that you're being.
Unlikely to be mean to us.
So, well, I'm about to, because I'm not as nice as Wick sometimes.
Right.
It's true that on some specific.
I'm lactose tolerant. I tolerate you. Okay.
I've taken a look at a few of more than a few studies and meta-analyses, et cetera. And it's absolutely true that there are some subjects that right-wingers are participate more in science denialism on. Especially climate change is the big one, but then there's a few others as well. COVID was one of them as well. But there's a lot of science that the left wing is much more likely to deny, much more likely to be involved with denialism. And I've just listed a couple here. You can fact check all of these, right? So things that the left wing is much more likely to be incorrect about and to deny science on include race and crime statistics generally, and the rates of police
How are you
interaction
defining
based
left
on
wing?
race. I can link you everything that I'm about to say, but just give me a
What
second.
does this have to do with anything?
I'm
Let
getting
him
there.
finish.
I'm getting there. And rates of police interaction based on race, presence of police generally on crime, nuclear energy, rent control, genetic heritability, and IQ, and other personality characteristics,
Pretty
biological
granularly good
and
on all of these things.
psychological
Let him
differences.
finish.
Biological and psychological differences between men and women, GMOs, certain gun control measures such as AR bans or high-capacity magazine bans, and most importantly, this entire topic. WIC has been the only one thus far that's actually cited studies indicating that not being partisan is good for science. And you guys have countered with nothing but emotion, right? I have one study here. Conservatives and liberals are both largely science deniers, but they actually just deny different kinds of scientific findings if it's more likely to disagree with their political presuppositions or not. This is also the same for conspiracy theories. And I think that what we're experiencing here right now is WIC citing research and you guys acting like the right wingers that you claim to hate, which is, oh, you're citing research, but what about this anecdote? But what about the politics? But
Oh,
what
here's a
about
study.
this?
Whoa,
But what
look, I
about
found a
that?
study.
But what about that? Like,
Yeah, look, I found a
WIC
study.
yeah, go ahead and post it because thus
Yeah,
far
okay.
none of you have
It's how President
because
Trump's war on science
thus
impacted
far
public health and environmental regulation. The
none of
abstract
you
is as and
none
I
of you
quote,
none
while
of
the
you have
Biden
posted
administration is
again.
taking
You're
initial
doing the
steps to
same
do some
thing.
of those changes,
You're doing the same
I'm reading
thing.
the study.
You're
I
What
don't
was the study on? What's the study on? Is the study on science?
I can't read the study.
Hold on. Is the study specifically on the effect of endorsements on trust in scientists? Because that
This
was
is
the
a
topic.
study on how the White House collects, researches, and communicates scientific information. Is that good enough for you?
No, because it's irrelevant to the topic.
That is
The topic that WIC is arguing is that a political endorsement reduces the credibility of the scientist. Thus far, he is the only one that has presented any evidence of this. If you want to present evidence for some other thing, sure, we can talk about all of that. But thus far, all you've done is come in here, deny science to WIC while just pooping on fucking Republicans and libertarians
either
the whole time.
Provided. I didn't contradict either of them. My argument is an ethical one. It has nothing to do with the studies that he presented.
So his argument that it reduces credibility in science, you just accept because that's where the evidence is right now.
My argument is that it is unethical of scientific institutions to remain silent when one candidate versus the other has an objectively worse history when it comes to scientific communication.
Even when it makes them more trusted among the overall populace on science issues.
Yes, because I don't care. I care
why?
Yes.
Science
No, hold on.
is,
I'll tell you why. Because he values
science.
his politics over science.
Stop fucking saying that.
He
I
does.
just fucking
He
do
does.
that. It's got
He
nothing to do
obviously
with fucking
does.
politics. It really doesn't.
No, it does. You're
It's
saying,
not just
oh, it's
existential
irresponsible.
threats to the country.
You're saying,
If you want to call that
oh my
politics,
God. Yes,
that's
it is
something
politics.
everybody should fucking care about.
It is politics. What WIC is accusing you of is that, oh, here is demonstrable evidence that it reduces trust in a scientific institution for everybody, right? By and large, I think there was only one cohort that actually, that trend didn't hold for. And that was the most extreme left-wingers, right? Generally speaking, the vast majority of the country, they
What
view
study are you talking about?
The one that WIC, did you guys even read the thing that WIC posted or no? You just come in here yelling at them.
I read the entire study, the entire nature study.
Yeah,
so
that one.
Okay, well, that's not what it said.
That is what it said. It said first table.
Anything about extreme left-wing at all.
Okay, so among Trump supporters and Biden supporters, if there was a control group versus viewed endorsement, what are the effects? What are the effects for Trump supporters on not informed at all?
What are the effect on Trump supporters who are not informed at all?
No. You said you read the study. Just go to the first
I did.
Study that I found
so the control group of Trump supporters, when provided with science in which there's no endorsement, or at least no endorsement provided, the control group that's rated it as not informed at all was relatively small compared to the control group, or not the control group, the viewed endorsement group, which is significantly higher. This is also true among Biden supporters.
What do you mean higher? Their faith in science moved if they saw the endorsement. Everybody agrees to that.
Yes, they rated the authority as being not informed.
What is
Yeah,
the sample size of the
no one's
study?
disputing that. No one's saying that the study is wrong or that we're in our fifis or anything like that. No,
I just want to know more. I just want to know more
I think that the
numbers.
study is largely correct. I have some quibbles about how it was performed because I think that there's some biases as far as, you know, if you had a Trump endorsement given to the Biden supporters, that's what I would like to have seen, because it's not apples to apples.
Gosh.
As someone who respects science as an institution and looks to the past where people like Galileo were executed for being scientifically correct but going against the social norms, I actually would prefer that scientists hold to the ethics of the scientific field, even if it goes against the population's best interests. I think that facts should stand on their own, and I think that the facts clearly demonstrate that Donald Trump has a very, very large history of anti-science and misinformation posting.
What if the endorsement is science-based? What if all of the arguments that they give for the endorsement is based in science? What if that happened?
So
Just don't have enough data.
Wick's argument is that it's undermining to the purpose of science itself. Even if everything that you guys have said is correct, even if yes that Trump is like evil, even if yes he's a science denier, even if yes all of this, what is the effect of this? What is the actual? Do you guys care about the? Do you guys care about like the effect of this at all?
I care about the effect, but it's not actually the topic of discussion. The topic of the discussion, Wick's initial problem was that a scientific journal was commenting or was taking a political stance. Period.
Yeah,
that's what we're disagreeing about.
And now it's going to be less trusted amongst the population.
That has nothing to do with the conversation. It has to do with whether or not it is ethical for a scientific journal to politically advocate for one candidate over the other. Isn't that right, Wick?
Is it about ethics specifically?
No, it's not about ethics. It's about efficacy. Ethics here? Well, yeah, it is kind of about ethics. But we just have different values, right?
I mean,
so
I would
value,
say
hold on, stop. I value America, right? I put America above. I'm an American first, a Democrat second. Okay. Clearly, some of us aren't. Some of us are Democrats first, American second. So if
wait, is that supposed to be at me?
Let me finish, right? If
yes.
Right. If we have information, right, and I haven't seen any contradictory information about this. So you're right. It's only 2 studies that I've sourced, but I've not seen anything to the contrary here. So we act on the best information we got, which seems to be this. Okay. So even if for a short-term gain, we can get, some benefit, even though there shows us there's no benefit to this. That's what the science says. But even if we could get a little, right? The question becomes, and it is a question, do we take a short-term gain if it hurts us long-term? And in this instance, I say no. I think that the long-term problem of distrust in institutions, specifically academia and science, is going to bite us in the ass. Like Trump, we can vote out. But this distrust, we can't.
Wick, if I may, to build upon that, I think what's being lost here is that, like, if what you're saying is true, JC, and I don't know what sides the others are on, but if what you're saying is true, then would it not suffice for science to just exist as science does? So what I'm saying is, if science tends to fall in agreement with the Democrats, with the left, and the Democrats tend to accept science as it is, and the right tends to engage in science denialism more, then would it not simply be the best move long-term to continue to let that simply play out as it is, continue doing the science, continue doing it right, let the left and right represent science the way they are and expose themselves for what you claim they are?
No.
Well, hold on. The alternative is a scientific magazine that you are sitting here telling us are, is fact-based and good, has now just lowered and undermined public trust in it by doing what it did. There are people now on the right who you've already acknowledged engage in science denialism that will now not trust that magazine simply for the act of giving an endorsement, right?
I don't believe that's the case. I don't believe in that.
No,
No,
it
is.
Science says it is.
I don't care. I don't care if you don't believe in reality. It's reality, motherfucker. Wake up.
declare your position as reality. That's an assertion.
I'm
asshole.
not. I'm not declaring my position as reality. I'm citing the study.
He's literally
Hold on.
citing the only study that you guys haven't presented anything on this.
That's right. Let's extrapolate this out to something else. If somebody's in a cult, is it really like isn't it saying anything contrary to the cult likely to have them lose trust in you?
I haven't seen the science on if it's like in the circumstance
Like,
of a cult.
No, like, I mean, I'm
Wait for the science while America gets shut.
I don't.
Wait, no. Historically, actually, yeah, cults fucking collapse in on themselves historically. So this is a horrible example.
I mean,
yeah, just
I
let the
think-
cult play out. It will burn down.
Just to be clear, let me respond to that
I don't think you're
specifically.
dealing with, like,
Wait,
just regular
Ellen,
cult.
hey, just to be absolutely clear here, like, if science told me that it was like ineffective to engage with a cult in a particular way, then I wouldn't engage with the cult in a particular way. And so what Wick is saying, I went back to the tweet. He didn't make a comment as to like the ultimate ethics here. He said, as someone who's voting for Harris, Science Magazine shouldn't be endorsing political candidates. It will only erode trust in science and further politicize it. And he posted evidence of that claim. You guys haven't posted shit.
Other than Fifi's.
Do we have?
I mean, I tried to post the study that I found, but
The side chat is busted.
yeah,
What's
side
wrong
chat's
with the
kinda
side
broken.
chat? Okay,
It's not busted.
Come
It's not
on.
busted. It's because
I'm
of the
broken tonight.
permission. It's not busted. It's because of the permissions in the Discord. Anybody who
Oh.
could not normally see this channel and gets dragged in cannot post in the side chat. That's how every Discord on Earth works.
Well, in that case, but I
Forgive
should
me
have
it's
a.
busted
not
because
being
I can't
familiar
use
with the
it.
internal
So
workings of Discord.
whether or not it's quote unquote perms, it doesn't matter. I
Yeah.
can't use it.
And Lactoid yelling at me to share a study doesn't
Just
fucking
put it in
matter
the
if I
tech and
can't share the
research
study.
section of my
Bro,
Discord.
you had
Yeah.
time to like look at
It's
this
a Discord full of
No
channels. You could have
fucking
DM'd
way.
it. You could have
Time
posted it
to
anywhere.
post the fucking show,
Oh,
idiot.
this is your excuse now?
He
Well, you could just have sent it
That's
somewhere
anything
else.
you can do.
Guys,
You just
come
dismiss
on.
and
You
discredit
could've
anything that I say.
researched
You don't have time to prepare.
Bro, he
I'm
posted
ready to
throw it
stuff.
in chat.
You have not posted anything.
You all
countering his
knew.
claim.
Hold on, just real quick. You all knew that we were going to have this conversation today.
I didn't know that I was going to get to have. I have no guarantee
Then-
that
then
I'm
why
going
are
to
you-
be dragged in on
then
your
why are-
call-in show. Or
then
unless
why are
that
you-
is
wait,
the
wait, wait.
understanding,
Why-
in which case
why
that's
are you
on me
in-
for not
why are you
realizing
in-
that.
That's fair. Hold on. That's fair. There was no guarantee, right? Because we had the Operation Circumcision we had to talk about first, right? Fair enough, right? But you knew
Which
that
is a
I
lot
was
of time
doing
for you to
this.
have read the article.
You
I have
said
known
that you were
this
going
was
to come
a
here.
panel
I'm
with
assuming
prepared
if you
studies.
came here that you would have some kind of evidence, right?
If I knew for a fact that I was going to be pulled onto this panel, like 100% for certainty, if it was like some planned thing, I absolutely would have had a
Oh my
plethora of
God.
evidence to destroy your stupid ass position. Yeah.
No, hold on. I'm not going to say, listen, Wick, I love you, but quit acting like this is American Idol. You do not have to wait 300 hours in a fucking 9,000 person line. If you go to the backstage on a call-in show on Wix, you're getting dragged in. So if you're going to go to the backstage...
I didn't realize that was the understanding I was supposed to have.
If you're going to go into the backstage on a call-in show, maybe have read the fucking article we're going to discuss.
I
Just
did read the
consider
fucking
it.
article
Well,
we're going to discuss. The studies
Then,
were not...
I don't know,
part of
then
the
maybe go
article.
back to
Wick
like
did not tweet
third
the
grade for
studies.
reading comprehension.
Wick did not tweet the studies. He tweeted the article. I read the article, and I also read the one from 2020 when Scientific American endorsed Joe Biden.
Yeah, the literal first fucking graph demonstrates exactly what Lactoid is saying. Like, I don't know. Maybe you did read it, but reading comprehension isn't there.
Article, what, graph of what?
Okay.
Of the study
There's
that
I don't think anybody here.
Give it to Aluminum. Give it to Illuminator. Hold on.
Hey,
Shut up. Illuminator, go ahead.
I don't think
Illuminator.
anybody here is arguing that the study shows what it shows. Right? I mean, it's as if you think that we're like disregarding
some
it
people
or
did
throwing
argue
it
with
away. Or, who? Yeah, I argued with methodology, but nobody seems to have anything to say about that.
I believe you also told Lactoid the first chart didn't say what it says.
No,
about
I did not.
5 minutes ago. Then it was Ellen. One of you two did.
Wait, what did
It's really frustrating because like this is I run into this a lot where there'll be like multiple studies on a particular subject, and because it's like not a meta-analysis, and because there's like not a lot of money that gets put into it, perhaps there's always going to be like some methodological like problem you can point to. But what science-minded people do is make decisions based on the best available science, right? Even though studies may not be like as all-encompassing as we might want, or like meta-analyses are obviously much better, right? We always want to get those. But Nature believed it was credible enough to post it, and I guess have like a decent amount of trust in that magazine. Should I stop believing in these magazines? Because making them
No.
endorse people is going to be a quick way for me to stop
Alright.
believing in them.
I need to ask a
Okay,
question.
well, then I guess you should stop, right? Because Nature just
So to be
did.
clear, I still don't have links to either of the studies because I don't have perms in the chat. And Wick said he linked them in the chat, and I
Let me
can't see
DM
them.
them.
So
I'm gonna put
Hold
them
on,
in-
I'll send it. Wait,
I'm being
Okay,
impugned
can
on
you do
data.
that?
I haven't even gotten a review.
Okay.
weird that I asked for it within a minute of being here.
Is there any
It
similar?
is weird that I also couldn't get it since I was here before you.
I know you should have fucking asked.
Are there similar studies? Are
Use
there
your big boy
similar
words.
studies for
Yeah, it's
other-
on me.
other countries for other
Yes.
types? Okay.
I mean, I think
Hold on.
can I just say something? I feel like we're having two discussions, right?
We're having like 3.
One
but go
discussion.
ahead.
Well, well, actually 3, right? Yeah, one is about whether or not chat is working. One is about whether or not and a scientific journal endorsing somebody is going to make a difference as far as lowering the people's faith in science. I do not dispute that. I think that's
I don't either.
correct. Right. Nobody disputes that. So
what is the
so
argument?
this
Please.
so
The argument
well,
is the one
what's
that I gave.
No,
Go
illuminate
ahead,
it,
Dylan.
please.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, so I don't argue that. The thing that I am arguing is the broader point, right? And I feel like that is what you were kind of saying, that this, when we do this, when scientific journals endorse someone, it ruins it for everybody, and I just don't think that's that important. And we're arguing like it's the end of the world.
To be clear,
When I will say 99% of the science denialism and shit that's been going on for the last 8 years is because of Donald Trump, not because of anything else, not because of science, Scientific American, Nature, anybody, putting out a letter to somebody something that 10,000 people read.
Okay. So, just
Ask
to
a
be
question, yeah.
clear, right? Your argument, and correct me if I'm wrong because I don't want to put words in your mouth. That your argument is that yes, this is true, but I don't think it matters on the whole. That
Yep.
there are bigger factors at play. That this is just a non-issue, and it doesn't matter.
I don't think it doesn't matter at all, and I don't think it doesn't matter at all, but I think it matters less than.
I think it's
1%.
relatively low impact. Would that be a fair way to? That's how I feel. Like the Scientific American, like endorsing one candidate over the other. Like I was sort of alluding to, I don't think that anybody, I don't think that most MAGA Republicans or even Democrats read Scientific American. I think it's relatively low impact compared to the other factors that we have going on with regards to political endorsement, like that Taylor Swift thing that was brought up earlier.
So when I'm looking at something, right, and I'll let Zetsway in here because I'm really curious his stance here. But when I'm trying to fix a problem, right, and it's something that I can't just wave, like it's not an easy problem to fix. It's got a lot of factors to it. I start with the things that I can have the most influence over, that are most easily changeable, right? I incrementally make steps to chip away at this monumental mountain of an issue. And I'll be real with you. For me, I think that the distrust in American institutions is a monumental issue. It's a big problem. And yes, I would even grant you that the right wing is the most responsible for this. But that does not mean that we can't chip away at the other areas that are lesser problems, right? That are still bad. That when we have institutions that are making decisions that hurt the public trust in those institutions, that directionally takes us in a way we don't want to go. And if I can stop that from happening, right, by making a mean old tweet on Twitter, I will. That's my thought.
Okay.
You know what?
Please.
You know what? I'll be the first to say I don't disagree with anything you just said.
Then why are we fighting?
Okay, Wick. Say Trump came out, like, let's get to this hypothetical because I want to isolate like variables here. Say there was a presidential candidate that literally was running on, I want to outlaw math. Like, I want to make it illegal to teach math to kids. Do you have a problem with scientific journals saying, I endorse the person who doesn't want to outlaw math?
So, again, yes, I have a problem with political endorsements. There's a way to handle that, though.
All right, okay, this
No,
conversation.
there's a way.
Well, that's fine.
Just
Okay. There,
Oh,
yeah,
did he just leave?
If you want to
Yeah.
be effective
Oof.
at well, I think he watches Run Day, so he's got a little in his blood. But the effective way to deal with that is to publish studies to show why math is effective. Not to just say, "Nuh-uh, Trump's so bad and evil, and you should vote for Harris." No,
Wouldn't
you
it
do what
only
a
be effective if
scientific
people read
journal
those
is supposed to
studies?
do, and you publish science that shows, okay, well, this is this study, XY study, Z study, all showing that what you just said was wrong.
Yeah, but
That's
if you're trying to reach the broadest group of people possible, because we already acknowledge that, like, we're just, we're assuming that, like, not the majority of Americans read Scientific American, like, even remotely religiously or anything like that. Like, which do you think has more impact? A published study on, like, I don't know, the effects of climate change, or saying Donald Trump is anti-climate change, please vote for the the person who believes in climate change?
Unironically, the second one. Unironically.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
I feel like there's a little bit of having your cake and eating it too happening. Where
Yeah.
it's like,
What?
if these magazines are like small enough that we don't really care about how much people like rate them as credible, they're also probably too small for their endorsement to really matter all that much, right?
And why do we care what their scientific conclusions are, right?
yeah,
Like,
then
why do
what-
if they're so small, why do I give a fuck?
Yeah, like at some point,
my
like
God.
that's the discussion is like, if we value these magazines and like scientific articles generally speaking, what's the effect? I think Wick's answer here is like, well, yeah, if by endorsing the anti-math candidate in the hypothetical that was put before, let's say the evidence comes out and it turns out like that reduces people's trust in math, then Wick would be very reasonable in saying, well, you know what, I actually think that like the trust in math is like really important. So like I think these magazines probably shouldn't do it. And Wick could probably also say, well, there's really no evidence that these endorsements actually even change the vote all that much, right? In fact, they could like mostly just serve to, reduce trust in science. Well, then it'd be like really counterintuitive.
That's what it
Almost
seems like the study shows, right?
Yeah, that's why I said it.
if you
That's
walk
why,
through this, so
please.
Wick, yeah. So if you look through, just I don't even know what the real disagreement is that no, they shouldn't be endorsing candidates, and you'd say, well, it might get more views if they endorse a candidate. That's not even like, so small studies. The way it works is people don't read the studies. There are articles, news shows, morning shows that actually do have people that read the studies and then discuss them. And so if you say for math, there's a candidate that says we're outlawing math, it's worthless. If someone made even a small article or a journal wrote a good study explaining the value of math and the benefits thereof, and they don't endorse a candidate, but then other people, political pundits, morning shows, things like that, can use that article to explain why it's good. They would have an endorsement of their candidate and use a study to support their position. But if the study just comes out and says, Harris good, Trump bad, all that's going to happen is the Fox is going to go, wow, they're awful because all they do is like, they just want to make it about politics. That you've ruined your own credibility by your own actions. You're not the one who needs to do the endorsements. Your studies can be used to support an endorsement, to say like, because I read this study, I endorse Harris, but your study doesn't have to be titled Why Harris is Great.
But to be clear, this was an article that was published, like a commentary article, not a study, right?
Yeah,
The Kamala Harris endorsement thing, wasn't that just an article?
It's
What do you-
inside the
Scientific
journal.
American?
Are we talking about the Nature study now?
What do you mean?
Well,
If you
so
re-
both are scientific articles, right? Both are like publications.
No.
No.
Scientific
No.
American is like a popular science magazine.
The
That-
SciAm is just
kinda like the same
an
thing, right?
article. It is literally just an article that refers to a lot
Not a
of
study.
other articles as sort of backing up why they are endorsing her. A bunch of the things I mentioned, climate change, COVID,
It's like National
nuclear, all that kind of
Geographic
stuff.
endorsing a candidate.
Yeah, that'd be messed up too.
Yeah, that's not helping.
Why?
Because why would you want to know National Geographic's opinion if they're so nothing? The question is, yes, I believe it erodes. If I go to National Geographic to find out about geology and I instead start reading about Harris, and I'm suddenly going to stop rolling my eyes at this, going, I didn't really come here for, like, if I wanted to read about why I should vote for Harris, I can find an article on Harris. I can
Flip
find
the
an article on
page.
that. why would I go to? Well, no. Why would I buy a Nature article that doesn't talk about nature, but instead talks about politics?
Yeah, because here's what's going to happen now. If you want to cite National Geographic, saying like, "Hey, this is look at what National Geographic found here," the response is going to be, "Oh, didn't
They
that
endorsed Harris.
publication-
Fuck that
they
magazine."
endorsed Harris. Why should I trust anything they say?
Or even just why would I look to nature? They talk about
Can
politics. Why would I want to know anything about nature?
Why should I trust that?
Stuff like this
Can we
without
at
having
least-
any knowledge of the article. No way.
Well,
Yeah.
this is
No,
Can we at
yes,
least
like
admit that
no,
people
hold on,
seem to
hold on,
have their
hold on.
biases
It's a
confirmed in
self-fulfilling
everything they do?
prophecy, isn't it? I mean, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, I read this thing in the magazine that I don't agree with. I mean, that's what's happening to every other magazine in the world.
Yeah, but there's freaks out there that want their biases confirmed in pretty much everything that they consume. They exist. That's why these articles, these magazines and bullshit end up trending towards those topics, because they want
Yeah,
people
well-
to pick up their magazines, they want people to pick up their articles and read them and shit like that.
Audacity. I can't believe you're vague posting about JC right in front of him. That's fucked up. So call him.
Oof. Ouch.
Hey. All right. Anyway, but yeah, that's why it happens. It's how it ends up there, and yeah, it does. I think it was just mentioned have more of a negative effect than it does a positive effect.
Of like a magazine, like a popular science magazine, like Popular Mechanics. If Popular Mechanics said we endorse Donald Trump, that would also be a problem?
Well, it depends on if a majority of people that read Popular Mechanics, I'm gonna assume because it's mechanics, support Donald Trump.
And have you
Well,
noticed they don't fucking have to? Like,
So
the
now it
crazy
matters
thing about...
with the
No,
audience?
hold on. Have you noticed
Yeah.
they don't have to? Have you noticed they don't have to? Have you noticed that there is no need for them to tell us that they would endorse Donald Trump? And have you thought about why?
Yeah, it's inherent.
It's almost like I mentioned this earlier, that the science, it would bear out in where they would end up lying. The science does the work. It's other people's responsibility to take that science and go, and because of this, I endorse so-and-so.
Yeah.
And
That's what
this-
Scientific American is, by the way. It's not a journal where you publish studies. It's a popular science magazine for general consumer consumption. Like, it's not like
Yeah,
I just don't think any of you know what the fucking magazine is.
Right,
No,
not a
people,
popular
but
political one. Crazy.
people get like scientific or opinions about science based on the things that they read, and so I think that
Wow,
if
how
you're reading,
insightful from Lactoid.
well, it seems
Almost like a
it seems
popular
insight-
science magazine is still scientific.
it
Did
seems
you mean
insight-
science or
it
politics?
seems insightful to you because like I want to be able to actually open this up and be like, oh, here's like a scientific journal. If a mechanics
It's
magazine,
not a
if I
scientific
was
journal, Lactoid.
if
It's
if
not.
if I was as concerned
It's not
about like,
nature.
oh my god, if I was as
Nature did
concerned,
it
let's
too,
say,
though, which is,
yeah, the study's actually
Did
about
nature do it
themselves.
too? Then I would condemn
The study-
that.
the studies- the
Absolutely.
studies about-
Hold on,
studies about
whoa, wait a
themselves.
second.
Wait, what?
You know the article I linked, right? The article I tweeted out was Nature doing it.
It's an analysis of the impact of nature endorsing Joe Biden. Crack
Wait,
a
Okay, I
book.
can't do it anymore. I fixed it
wait.
out, gang. I'll see you guys. I don't know about tomorrow, but I'll see you Thursday. We're
What?
gonna have a state of the race discourse,
I
and
don't
on
understand what the
Friday
fuck just
we're gonna
happened.
be having a talk about. I guess this one guy almost said the N-word. He might have said the N-word.
No,
but
he said it.
We're gonna talk
Oh, he
about.
said it.
We're gonna
Oh,
talk
he said
about
it.
what
He
that
said it.
means and what should be done about it. Right? What should the response be? We're gonna have Echo Quinn on there. Quinn is gonna come, and we're gonna
Holy
have maybe
fuck.
a couple other people.
Oh,
too.
cool.
If you'd like to talk about it with us, please reach out. I might just have an actual call-in show tomorrow. This felt like half a call-in show, but yeah. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Yeah, some people on this show called